If we have to use your laptop, we'll just turn it around and face we'll put it on the podium and face everybody like we did at the high school,
Oh,
if we have to.
okay, so am I going?
We're hoping, we're back on, we're reading, we're going through the directions again,
All right.
one step at a time.
Okay. We'll just go.
Well, we're all here at least.
Yep, loud and clear. You're not even echoing.
I'm home. I'm not on the phone anymore.
Oh,
Had plenty of time to get home, you know?
I don't think Maureen's on.
I see your name, but. And it said the meeting was recording, but I don't know who is, so.
And this is the new system they put in council chambers. That's supposed to be easier for everyone.
So just be aware it is recording right now, so.
Maybe we can give our pitch for our 824 right now and they can just pull up the video later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I approve it. I think it's good.
I'm eating, so I'm not turning my video on.
I mean, I could have, Luke, that would have been nicer if there was a big giant V over your left shoulder instead of a C.
It would be, but
I mean, that's just, oh,
I think-
what beautiful netting.
yeah, I pick my battles with Jen, so I know she loves the B.
Which is true.
I mean, that one's large.
I just love that you're both
Start
on
minute.
and covering me
And
tonight.
turn it around.
Here we
Maybe
go.
put it up.
I hear
there,
Maureen.
let's see. If anybody can see it. You guys can.
Oh, we can see you
Oh, we
guys.
saw people.
Right there.
We see you now.
That way a little bit. Yeah, that should be the whole room. Okay. All right, I say. I think we go for it.
Can everyone hear us?
Okay, good evening and thank you again for your patience and welcome to the planning and zoning meeting. So we'll try to see if we can catch up. It's about 7:25 in the evening and we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And thank you. And do you want to do a roll call? Okay.
Speakers on now. June Daly,
Here.
Andrew Blue Miller here. Diane Joyce here. Timothy Zigma,
Yes.
Brian Rogan,
Here.
Joan Beely here. Scott Hamel,
Here.
Nikki Sambitsky,
Reside.
John Dacom,
Here.
Steve Biella Jr.
And Steve said that he was working, and so I don't know if he's gonna join us or not, so let's just excuse him. I think. Okay, we're on to scheduling public hearings. One first item would be the subdivision application of Earl Wigland, reapproval of an expired phase 3 Nature's Edge Court lot, which contains 7 lots. The suggested date is May 4th, 2023.
Can I make a correction? to
Yes.
that? So we do the deadlines for noticing public hearings, so we won't have time to notice it for May 4th, so it would be the May 15th, I think it is. Let me look at my calendar. I'm
Right.
sorry.
20,
May 18th
18.
would be the new suggested date, and I'm sorry for that. We just ran out of days.
Make a motion to schedule public hearing for May 18. All right, thank you, Ms. Dorsey. Do we have a second? Second by, let's go Scott Hamel. All right. And further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those Opposed, so moved. Commission business. Now I think that Chris Edge wanted to address the commission just for 5 minutes. Is this a good time for him to jump in before we get to the regular scheduled program?
At your pleasure.
All right. So this way he can get going with other stuff. He just wanted to touch base and review some stuff with us.
That's what it is. Yeah, down. Thank you very much for indulging me for a couple minutes. I'll wait till those come through to everybody. I am coming forward today. I've been approached by a developer interested in a property in the PSB zone. PSB zone is the one where Home Depot is, and the property across from Home Depot where we have the car dealership and retail buildings. They are looking to do a high-end, basically automated car wash, one of the places that has like the regular membership that you see in different places. There's a picture of what one might look like, and there's also a map of the properties that would be potentially affected that are currently undeveloped, and really just wanted to connect with the commission here on whether or not it makes sense. The parcel that is of question right now is around the closed CVS. These parcels, as you know, have never been developed. They've been very challenging, mainly due to the cost of the land. The property owner has been about twice what the market is at this point. So really just looking to kind of throw the concept by you. If it's something that you think makes sense to pursue, it would be a text amendment to add it as a use in the zone. And just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on whether or not you think this is something that has potential or is worth pursuing for the interested party.
This is behind CVS or,
Use the microphone, please, Tim.
I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
had it on. This is the one. The parcel behind CVS or beside it.
Likely it would be the parcel next to it and part of the parcel in the rear, because I think they would like to hit the 2-acre minimum, which we have in other zones for car washes.
Okay, Andra?
Would they be entering off of that Deming Road there?
At this point, there is an entrance off of the turnpike. My discussion with them was for them to consider having a better right in, right out onto the turnpike because of the issues with Deming Road. I know right now the town is working through redoing the roads and is going to be redoing the intersection, so there'll be 3 lanes from the Berlin side, but yes, my intent is to work with them and try to get as much traffic on the turnpike and off the turnpike, because Deming is, as you know, it's a challenging road certain times a day.
So they will not be going in or out on Deming then?
I can't say that for certain. I know right now, my push for them is to do everything in and on the turnpike. And I think being on that front parcel, it makes the most sense not to have people go back out to Deming, because instead, especially too, if you go back out, you can take the right out of Deming or left to Deming, or a U-turn, go the other way.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you said that this would require a text amendment?
Yes, it is currently not allowed in the PS-B zone. Again, this zone was set up specifically to have basically another Home Depot plaza. Back about 7 years ago, it was a 20-acre minimum. That was knocked down to 5 acres, working with Mr. Orsini. So this zone really has been one that has changed dramatically over time as the market's changed. A plaza like Home Depot really hasn't been a viable option in many years. So this is something that's come to my attention in a couple different places, and this one just happens to be the one that seems to make sense from a financial perspective, because I've worked with this property owner quite a bit. Trying to make something happen here has been very challenging. And
Chris?
Yes.
Hold on a second. Can I have just a couple of things to make?
Yeah.
So the first is procedural. Can you vote, make a motion to add this to the agenda, the discussion from the?
I'll make the
economic
motion to-
development, director?
I'll make the motion to add to the agenda, mission business with the economic developer in regards to this matter.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Rogan and we have a second by Ms. Jorsey. Further discussion on that. And all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? So moved, so we'll just continue discussing.
Thank you. Now, and then I have a second point to make, which is, so the discussion that you would have at this time, it needs to be, I would just remind everybody that it's conceptual in nature as to whether anyone has initial, concerns to throw out or not. Because this is not the proposal for the change of text, nor is it a concept plan. And so any maneuverability of a plan and how that plan would work in relation to a text amendment, if that, I would advise you to think more broadly with regard to the text amendment as it being, if the text, what's being floated is the concept of changing the text to allow car wash uses in the PSP zone, regardless of where the PSP zone is and what lots are in it, because it could apply somewhat, not
Yeah.
just this single location. And whether expanding PSP zone uses is something that is that you feel is appropriate, I guess. is
Perfect, yes, and
work towards it, and of course, any discussion you have to indicate that, of course, you'd entertain any proposal that came in front of you. It's an application, you'd have to provide what your reaction to it is. It is not binding to when it comes before you as an.
Yeah,
if I could just
but
mention one
that's
thing,
an option for someone to
yeah.
take.
I've done this a number of times, particularly for the new commission members, essentially to kind of throw a concept out there. Really gives you a chance to think about it, give me feedback, and really to assist the person who's looking to come forward. If you think, hey, it's great, terrific, if you think it's horrible, it is what it is. Because the one thing I don't want to see is I don't want to put you in a position of having something come forward that you hate, and I don't want someone to go into a buzzsaw and expect one thing and get another.
yeah.
Because we want to work as closely as we can with people. And I know this one is kind of different, but I really would love to, again, kind of get your thoughts and feedback, and not necessarily a yes, we love it, but whether or not it makes sense for them to pursue some kind of language. Without a doubt, in my mind, it should be a special permit use. That way you have a lot of purview over the look, the landscaping, the location, access. That way you have a lot of say in it when and if you decide it makes sense.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem is that we're in the process of trying to finalize the P O C D, which is gonna be our plan for the next 10 years. And I find myself in a position where applicants are trying to constantly sort of tweak the plan. We're trying to drive home the P O C D to get it finished, to get it finalized and all wrapped up. And when we keep doing these layers of text amendments, I think it just really breaks down what our intention is, and we lose focus of the bigger picture. So, I mean, you're looking for initial feedback. I mean, all businesses, I think, are a good idea, especially high-end businesses. So, but on the other hand, I'm not comfortable with entertaining a text amendment because we're in the process of finishing the P O C D process. So, that's my initial reaction to it. I don't know if anyone else has something they want to add.
If I was going to consider the point of 3 different lots, basically. If I was going to consider a lot. Is the one behind the CVS. Lisbon Road and Deming Road. Because we did approve one across the street from that lot, actually, which never happened. On front of Nadu construction there. We did approve one back there, a car wash. Guy was out of Texas, I've been coming here in the middle of winter. He's complaining about the winter. So that one is a larger lot. And the flow of traffic could come off Turnpike and go off back into Deming Road. From there, just like the CVS has now. And the other one that I would I wouldn't mind because it's the 1.97 acre next to the Citgo station. That piece has been available for a lot of years. And it's something that just be falling in between two built structures already. I was going to choose the two pieces.
Yeah. All right, anyone else? Yeah, go right ahead, Diane.
I agree with Chairwoman Bailey, with regard to the, work that we've done on the P O C D. If the applicant decides that they wish to propose text, I agree with you though, Chris, that it should be proposed for a special permit. And that if this photo is representative of what they think they want, on a very visible lot, I think they need to look at dressing things up quite a bit.
And anyone else?
Yeah, I was just about to agree with Commissioner Dorsey, and Chris Edge, especially when it comes to special permit and having more control over the facade. I mean, it is a business area, a very busy area, so I mean, we want to keep it nice, but with the car dealership there and everything, I'm open to it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Scott, Margaret, any comments?
And the photo itself is the one I was able to find online. I was not supplied this. I kind of went and did a little bit of digging myself, so I would agree with you. I think it needs to fit what's there. I mean, if you look at the Acura dealership, I truly believe that those are the two nicest retail buildings outside of Fairfield County that he's built. And having quality next to it, I think, is vitally important.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. So, do we have a consensus or do we want to? We sort of have a split.
Oh,
Well,
I
actually would advise that that the economic development director, have the takeaway of the comments he's received and the commission not take an action of sorts on this discussion item. It's purely a discussion item and, I would advise it remain as such.
All right, terrific.
And I think even if the process goes through, I think are we looking August? Ms. Juicy, is that about right for the P O C D?
So the POCD is due at the beginning of September, so we would anticipate that the public hearing that the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold on it prior to you taking a vote to adopt it would be in June. We're looking at a June 15th date for that. That's the comments later in the meeting. But you can set the adoption date, which will most likely coincide with the expiration and the new deadline be for September, or have an effective date of September.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thanks,
Yeah, I
Chris.
was gonna say, I think this will work in line with that, but thank you so much for your feedback. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you for your allowing me to do this.
Yeah. All right, so first up, we have the review and recommendation in accordance with the 824 of the Connecticut General Statutes of the plan for the town and the Board of Education to develop and construct an outdoor classroom project at McGee Middle School. Okay. And what do we have with this? Because I know that we've already talked about this project before.
So I'm going to remind the commission, and any new members, I'm not sure of the timing, I don't recall, but you did look at the site plan approval for this application for the outdoor classroom, and it was approved. The scope, I understand, has changed a bit. But this is now the 824 review, which is Connecticut General Statutes 8-24, which requires the Planning and Zoning Commission to provide a recommendation to town council on appropriateness of improvements that are significant, basically, to town facilities, etc. So that's what this is. However, Mr. Cugno has also indicated to me that the scope has changed slightly and asked that you add to the discussion and to the item, either as the same item or a separate item, so you should vote on them separately, a modification to the site plan that they already got approved.
Okay.
They're reducing the scope a little bit, and I think some of the reduction is actually was discussed as items that you commented on.
Okay, Mr. Cugno, are you going to, sort of go over what changes that we have?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So I will also add that the town council voted to send it to you for your recommendation at their, not this last meeting, but the meeting before, and will then get it back for their final decision.
Okay,
Jeff Cugno, Director of Operations for the Berlin School District.
mhm.
May I ask, does that mean you're going to put on the agenda site revision, or it just automatically happens, or?
I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Second,
What's that?
Combine them or?
Yes, to
Presentation?
combine them, please.
Okay.
That is part of the motion. That was what was intended.
second,
All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Dorsey and a second by
Thank you.
Mr. Zigma.
I thought it was maybe
Oh,
gonna be,
I'm sorry, the vote. Okay, sorry. All those in favor? Aye, aye. Okay, all those opposed? Okay.
I thought it was gonna maybe be up on the screen. Did I get it in time to you to do that, or?
We're having technical difficulties.
of our. Oh, it's not, well, you know what? I just so happen to have handouts.
And I did want to just reiterate to those that are joining us via Zoom. And those in the audience, we're sorry that we can't seem to get any presentation onto the screen, including the Zoom
Okay,
screen. So,
well,
sorry.
I have, do you mind if I give handout? Yeah. Just keep one so I can speak to it, but I think we have enough. I had the engineers, which are AI engineering, on call with the town. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. It was me keeping the one, you were getting the rest of it. Yeah.
but the old days.
Yeah, they redid the plan to do some, and it's actually some minor revisions. You were very nice to review what we had as an initial site plan with all the concepts involved. We have since learned a little bit more about the budgeting. We've also had some people take a look at the site and so the number one piece of the revision is what's on the earlier site plan, and it looks generally the same as this, except for what I'm gonna say. The earlier site plan had and it was noted on there, a 20 by 25 foot pavilion pad. We had long conversations with curriculum people and a few other people that work for the district, and they wanted to be the size of a reasonable classroom that can fit people walking in and out if they need to, and so on. And so what we've come back with, since I knew I was coming back for 824, we come back, this one is what we've had in what we want now, what we're going to purchase, obviously it's purchased, is a 24 by 30. So it's not considerably bigger. It's 4 feet on one side, but it's a configuration and a size that fits more with a classroom, which is what we're trying to do and develop in that manner. So that's the biggest revision. Okay. We did have 2 pads on it to begin with. And originally there was another walkway coming off the pad you're looking at that was a smaller pad that was going to be used maybe later for a picnic table, maybe this, maybe that. The development of it hadn't really been thought out that well. Because of the budgets, because of how big this one is now, because of where it sits in front of the building and it's nice and symmetrical, we're not going to put in a second pad. That won't affect the classroom situation or the use. So there's only one pad, which is bigger, rather than 2. The other change was it had 2 sidewalks going to the pad. When it was originally designed, it had the sidewalk you're looking at right now coming from McGee, which is also a sidewalk in front of McGee, so it all ties into the building. You can come out a number of ways to get on the sidewalk. It also had a sidewalk going straight out to the parking lot. I'm sorry, I don't have pictures of the old one. I didn't know I was gonna have to, but
Well, I think we have them here.
It's here.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, so you've got it. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect.
So
Okay.
we're doing the comparison with.
Yeah, perfect, because I'm just trying to, so it had another sidewalk. We don't see any reason for that sidewalk and very frankly, because we wanted to add on for security purposes, which I'll address, is a guardrail going around the entire site to protect the students that are out there if anybody's on the driveway and loses control or anything else. So the Board of Education has said to me that they would like a guardrail. So with the guardrail being there, the one sidewalk makes a lot more sense. Actually, it ties in as far as our engineers are concerned better with the system. There are no other changes. So you've got a guardrail, which I don't think was on the first one, if I remember correctly. Is it on there? Oh, is it on? It is on there. Okay, so we already had said that. I couldn't remember. Bigger pad, but one less pad. The small pad is gone, and one of the sidewalks is gone. So that's really the only revisions. Everything else is generally the same. The use is going to be the same, that there's only going to be electricity that goes out to it. And what we have asked also is either at building at McGee, and I don't think this is a site plan issue, but just to let you know, we want to make sure that there's water out there for landscaping. So either a spigot coming off of McGee itself, it may have one somewhere, or we'll put one in. Because there's been some talk about having planters out there at some point. There's also talk about having a couple of Eagle Scouts are interested in doing some stuff around this when it gets put in. From a timing standpoint, the pavilion itself, when we go back to the council, which I'll hopefully be in a week or two, to get the okay to get a purchase order to go purchase it, because we have the grant money already. This is grant money. It's not local money. It's federal money. It's a 12 to 14 week time to get the pavilion. So what will happen is our plan is to order the pavilion. And you can see what it looks like there. I also have, if you're really interested, I also have bigger pictures of it if you want to see what this looks like, but it's a pavilion. It's full steel pavilion. It's a very high level grade one, and it's going to be on a concrete pad. And actually, it's even going to have powder coating and everything around the stilts. So it's high level, which is what we want out there to match with McGee. It does have the same kind of structure as McGee does, with the legs that come down are about the same size as the ones that are in the front of McGee that has the canopy. So it will match very, very well. It'll be painted the same. It's gonna have a green roof. The reason it's gonna have a green roof is that the principal, Sal Urso, who you probably know, said, you know, our logo and everything is green, and we want to have a little green out there. So, but it's a metal room, so it'll be there forever.
It's metal. That's good.
Yes, everything's the whole thing is steel. It's a steel structure. So just to let you know, for as residents, from the timing standpoint, we won't get the pavilion in until probably the end of the summer or the fall. However, the rest of the work that has to be done, other than installing the pavilion, because you got to put the structure up and install it, we'll get the pad done long before that. We'll get the landscape. We'll get everything done before that. So the last thing will happen is the pavilion will be delivered, put up, and we'll go from there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we think we can, because we're hoping to get, local guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, all the procurement of this project is going through the normal town procurement. That's the way we've arranged it with the corporation council and everything. So it'll be going through purchasing. If it needs to be, if the pieces need to be bid, it'll be bid. If not, they can get quotes and go. We're gonna go through a whole system. It'll also be a town contract.
The seating, what kind of seating was gonna be? Was that picnic table set up or?
Here's what I've heard. First of all, we have a separate grant from the Marjorie Moore Foundation
Yeah.
of about, I think it's $17,000 to, it might be 16, but to provide furniture for this pavilion. Linda Holian, who's our Director of Pupil Services, has a number of ideas on what she would like to have and what kind of seating. It's not going to be like theater seating. It's going to be, the tables that they can work on, and
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff will be special ed students, and we want to make sure that they have the ability to go on there and use, like for conversation's sake, the sidewalk is a 7-foot sidewalk going to it. So you got a lot of room, whether it's wheelchairs or whether it's anything else people can get. It's not all the entire use of the property. We want to make sure that it can be used well by by some of the special ed students. I don't have a picture of anything to do with the actual furniture, although I've heard everything from furniture that can be out there most of the year, furniture that is low maintenance. However, I think that they're going to, go and shop and order what they want and decide what they want to get there. It's going to be out in front of McGee, so everybody's very interested in having this be a very attractive development, which is why, we're.
And is that the actual guardrail that we're gonna be getting? that
Okay.
Nice wooden one?
Thank you. Yes, the guardrail. There's very few guardrails that are DOT approved.
Mhm.
Board of Ed said if we're gonna put a guardrail up, we want it to be a guardrail that is gonna work and be
Excuse
there.
me
for a
one
while.
second, can I just remind you to talk
Sure.
into the microphone so
Oh,
that the
sure.
recording comes out? I'm sorry, I just
I'm
realized.
sorry, Maureen, I know that. I should keep my hand. It's tough when you're Italian, your hands are going, the head's going, everything. I gotta hold on to something here.
That's been.
But yes, the guardrail, there's a few different types that DOT approves. One of them is the one we're used to seeing on the highway, which are the silver ones that are whatever. And the discussion was very short at DOT, excuse me, at the Board of Ed on that, because if kids run into that guardrail, they'll cut themselves. So that was out.
I like
Now-
the one.
Now you go down to the one like the parks. These are like the park systems have, and they're, we're so used to seeing them, we don't even see them anymore. But they're DOT rated, so nobody's going through them. But they're not, remember, it's not a fence. It's not gonna keep the kids in. It's just something to make sure that nobody comes off the parking
Cars
lot.
out.
No, we did a whole presentation at the Board of Ed on security and safety for outside activities for students because of this proposal, because the question came up. We're gonna be putting something out in front of the school. What most of the members didn't realize is that McGee, and we all know McGee, there's outside activity at McGee all over the place. It's very safe, it's very done well, and plus it's interesting, I think, for planning, for any commissioners to know is that the rules and procedures with the security guards we have, you can't have an outside activity without registering it with the principal's office and having walkie-talkies out there or whatever they call them nowadays out there with security people on site. So we're very much into safety and security. So when that was reported, they said, great. Then they started talking about what if a car drives off the road. So we took care of that. So those are the changes.
And just one quick little thought, because I spend most of my days outside. It might not be a bad idea. I don't know if you looked in the pavilion, but maybe putting a big ceiling fan in there for when it's like 100 degrees and like swelter, so that you can cool the kids down.
You know what? This is my personal opinion now. I think that's a great idea because it seems to me that a pavilion should have a fan in there. We are gonna have electricity to the pavilion. It doesn't come with a fan. Doesn't mean we can't add it because we're gonna have electrical outlets right out there. So I'll mention it certainly, but I don't know anything about the sizes or anything else, but it seems to me if we can do a pavilion with a fan in there, it would make sense for comfort. Yeah.
You probably need a couple of them up there.
Yeah.
Couple seat fans, just to move the air.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Commission? Yes, Jim.
Yeah, you had mentioned maybe adding water to the outside of the building there, and that may be helpful with these young kids outside to have a drinking fountain access, or if that's already out there in place, they could add drinking fountain. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Important
rules
for-
go with drinking fountains nowadays. The idea would be nice.
they
I
might
don't know
do
enough
water
about,
bottles,
yeah,
maybe, I guess.
right. I don't know enough about it. Even in the schools themselves, we've changed the drinking fountains to places they can just fill a water bottle up. So, the days of, in all the parks, whether it's here or to Britain, anything else, having outside water fountains, they're not there anymore.
That's too sad.
I can't speak to the whys and the wherefores, but that's probably why it wouldn't be. But again, there's going to be water access. Remember, we're right next to a school. These kids they all have water bottles. They walk around with them constantly. It's a big enough facility to have a number of things out there. Like I said, not only just, chairs and picnic tables, couches or whatever, but, they could have places for coolers if they needed. They could do whatever. So, not beer, but coolers.
I have a question.
Yes, go
Was
ahead.
there any plan to put any plantings in there, any trees around the?
We don't have, it's not in the plan right now. It's not on the site plan as you can see here. if Maureen tells me that if we decide to put some planters out there, that we should go back and get another review on what we're planting and what, we would certainly do that. Oh, geez, that's right. We would certainly do that.
Talking with his hands again.
Yeah, no, I know. But I don't have, we don't have a planting schedule at this point. We would probably have Steve Wood very involved in what we might want to plant out there and so on and so forth. And whether it would be something that would be done privately or whether it would be just done by, the school and the town anyway. So they usually do their own landscaping, but
Okay.
we don't have one now. I think I've heard Linda Holding speak to. We'd like to get some planters out there. We'd like to get some flowers. We'd like to have a few things. I think it'd be great. It's a great site. I mean, it's going to be visible, great site. So I would anticipate that is going to happen. And as I mentioned, I know the Boy Scouts have already informally said that it would be a great place to have some of the Eagle Scouts do some work.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Right, so. Consensus vote.
I'll make a motion to make the recommendation to approve the amended site plan as presented this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Do we have a second? Second by Andrew. Well, Millard. Further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. Okay.
I thank you very much,
Thank
Maureen. Thank you also.
you.
You have to vote on the 824 report as well.
Oh, not together as one. Okay,
Oh,
I was trying to do it all as one.
Sorry, I have it 10 separate. You didn't say.
No, I didn't. So I'll make the motion to make the recommendation to approve the section 824 or recommend approval to the town council of the 824 referral.
and is that just for item A then?
Yes.
That's just for item A. Okay. All right. Second by Andrew. Further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. All
Thank you very much.
right, thank you, good night. Then we have the review and recommendation in accordance with the 824 for the Connecticut General Statutes on the matter of converting the Scoglio Field at Berlin High School to synthetic turf surface. Plastic over greenery. Oh, my goodness. Okay, and who do we have representing?
So I'm sorry for this, but they are online and you're gonna have trouble seeing them, but they are on the small screen to your right. And we'll move it if you need to.
Is that the
We're gonna
right
make
or the
sure we
left?
can see your right there. The screen is to your right,
What?
but they,
The guy.
yeah, it's Jenna Chilla, our Director of Parks, Rec and Social Services. I'm not sure exactly how what the title goes, and Steve Wood,
Oh,
the
there's Steve. Okay,
facilities,
all right.
rather grounds. Oh, wait.
So paper or plastic, okay, so we have greenery or plastic. All right, so what do we have here with this 824? What are we all looking for?
So,
Hold on a minute, Steve. Could you just say a couple of random things so we can,
Test words.
yeah, test words.
hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
You put
Yeah.
the microphone next to the thing, see if
Yeah.
Do you want mine?
the guy grab.
Oh, yeah, maybe we can use,
How do these?
hold on, Steve.
Okay. You hold it. Try speaking again.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, loud and clear. Whoa.
Beautiful. I'm gonna definitely keep this shorter than Jeff Cugno. This is my first time going through an 824 review, so probably gonna be more of a question and answer than anything. Right around in 1999, when the high school track was being installed, was the first time that somebody brought up, the Park and Rec Commission brought up installing synthetic turf. Over the next couple of years, they decided that installing the synthetic turf at Scalise would give more use, seeing that most of the Berlin High School home games were there. When they put in for the renovation of the high school and the statement of need, they were supposed to put the synthetic turf inside the high school track. And at that time, it was one of the first things they cut out. Jen and myself, over the next 5 or 6 years, kept putting in for the synthetic turf just because of the more playability, the more events, the more things that we could have there, more youth groups, from Berlin Youth Soccer to Berlin Youth Football. Berlin Youth Lacrosse is growing astronomically, and we just thought it would be a better use. From there, that kept getting thrown out, and Joe Rosimitz was lucky enough to come up with a grant to finally procure the funding to turf the inside of the high school track. And that's why we're here tonight. We are looking to change the inside of the high school track from grass to synthetic turf.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the commission?
What's the lifespan of this synthetic turf?
With Scalise, we ended up somewhere around between 12 and 14 years. So I believe that we will probably hit that mark with this field as well.
And Steve, what's the maintenance on a artificial field? I mean, we all know that if you have a regular natural grass field, you have liming and fertilizing and clippings and mowing. What do you guys do with the artificial stuff?
Currently right now for Sage Park, Scalise Field, we have a biannual maintenance program where field turf comes down and they maintain the field twice a year. That involves sweeping, grooming, doing a GMAX, a HIC test to make sure it meets all the safety standards. There's very minimal to no maintenance on these fields once they're installed, and they can handle any amount of play that is put on them throughout the course of the year as long as there's not snow on the field.
And as far as like football injuries or whatever, plastic versus natural grass? I
Yep,
mean,
I'm going to turn that over to our landscape architect, Luke, and have him answer that.
all right, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Steve. For the record, Luke McCoy, principal with Castle Booth Associates, we're the design consultant firm for this project. So there's a number of things when you look at safety of a field. One is player injury or potential of. This field, much like Scalise that went in, will involve what's called a shock pad below the carpet of the field. What that does is reduce the potential of impact injuries. So a player falling, head to turf injury, body to turf, and that's guaranteed to meet the requirements of GMAX and HIC for the 8 years of the field warranty. And then that pad will be reused for the second application as well, because that warranty on the pad carries to the replacement of the field when it's taken up and done. As far as health concerns on a field, there's been a number of testing done over the last 5 to 10 years related to the infill material and the fibers or the grass portion of it under ASTM, which is the American testing mechanism that shows that those materials, when ingested, do not potentially cause any potential harm to a child. The test that was used to do that, same test that tests child's toys, like a pacifier or a bottle. It's a synthesized test to make sure that that material can't break down and cause any harm for any of the athletes that are on it.
Okay. And one other question. You said that basically there's a padding that's under the actual turf field that's laid out. How is the turf field attached to the padding?
Sure. So the overall cross section of it is, first, there's a drainage system installed, which includes piping and a series of drains which act as a large bathtub during a large storm event. So the water is collected off of the surface, which is, as Steve mentioned, what allows the fields to be used all the time during rain events or right after. Above that is where the shock pad is installed, and then the carpet is laid on top of that. Around the perimeter of the field, between the track and the field, a concrete curb is installed, which is what the turf is attached to on one half of it, and then the other half is coated with the track surfacing. So when you enter onto the field across the track, you'll never see the curb or any of the pieces below. It'll be a flush and uniform surface from track right onto turf.
Okay. Any other questions? Andrew? No? Joe?
Yeah, just a curious question for you. Are all high schools going to the artificial turf, or, you know, what is the ratio there? Is it a cost decision generally?
It comes down to playability and available space. I think most schools at this point have one, if not more, or are in the discussion of trying to get at least one. The biggest impact we see is not only late fall, when football has been on a grass field all season and it's getting late in and it's wet, and soccer's still trying to play on that field well, the grass has been torn up from football. Or the flip side being about this time of year when the lacrosse season starts and lacrosse is on the field, which tends to be wet still because, and then it is torn up again. That really is the reason why they're looking to go to it, as you can utilize the field about twice as much, and it reduces the maintenance cost. As Steve had mentioned, you don't have to line. The lines are permanently installed, just like at Scalise Field. So there will be no more requirements of painting for any of the sports. And then, as Steve said, they part of it is contracting, and under this project is they will have the field maintained twice a year. Plus, the Parks Department owns the grooming equipment for it, so there's no additional cost for maintenance.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah, Tim?
You said you put the drainage underneath it, and where are we draining it to?
It ties into the existing storm system that's at the school, currently already on the site. What we have and it is designed, it's been designed by our civil engineer, and there is a full report on it that will be part of a site plan after. But that what it does is it goes into, as I said, it's retained as a bathtub, and then simple explanation is the outlet, which ties into that system, is the choke point. So it only allows a certain amount of stormwater out when there's a major storm, so it doesn't tax the down system. It then will hold that water in that stone base, which doesn't affect the playing surface above, but also then slowly allows that water to release over an extended period of time after a rainstorm.
Okay. Anyone else?
I just have a comment, not so much a question, but a comment with respect to state requirements for the maintenance of the grass fields. Makes the maintenance that much more difficult. There are mandates with respect to pesticide use under section 10-231 that limit the ability of the town to apply certain pesticides at certain times. So it complicates the maintenance of the real turf.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay, so let's so what are we going to do with this little 824?
I think you should recommend it.
Well, all right, you have a notion or have a
I have a
motion?
notion.
Okay,
Try to do it right this time.
okay, I'm sure that you're fine. Practice makes perfect.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the 824 application. Recommend approval to the town council for converting Viscaglio Field to a synthetic turf surface.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hamel. Further discussion, then all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? So moved. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Bye for now. All
Thank
right,
you.
next item is authorization for permitting phase 3, 13,500 square foot of the site plan amendment, 166 Old Brickyard Lane. 166-212 Old Brickyard, building address 200 Old Brickyard Lane, Kokomo Old Brickyard Lane LLC. It's a lot of brickyard lanes. Okay, what, this is, all right. What do we have?
So I'll put this in a nutshell, what I did put in the report, but I know those came, not everyone perhaps reading them in their entirety. You'll recall that the commission approved phases 2 and 3 of the redevelopment of the site at the end of Old Brickyard that had formerly included several lots. It is now one single parcel and was being redeveloped for conforming industrial uses, and
Yes.
that site plan was approved. At the time, the phase one is the industrial building that is built as you first cross the railroad tracks, as you go around the curve and it's there on the right and occupied, et cetera. There had been a caretaker's, there had been several non-conforming homes on the property as well. And the one of the houses was to be initially converted to a caretaker's building and an office for the uses on the property. When they came back with phase 2 and 3, that was instead set to be demolished, was the other residential houses on the property. Those have all been demolished. However, at the time they came in, one house, it was during COVID, there were restrictions on getting rid of tenants that were no longer tenant and landlord disputes, et cetera, was a lengthy issue. And the one house was being occupied, and the commission was hesitant to allow construction of phase 3 until the applicant returned for authorization to do so, to proceed into phase 3. Since that time, as I said, the tenant has left the property. That house has been demolished. The other houses have been demolished. There is one more residential style building that has been used for offices for several years that will be demolished as part of phase 3. It does not have a residential use as far as any of us are aware. Has an office inside and has for years. It was JL surveying. And so this is authorization for them to go into phase 3. It was a specific condition of approval that the applicant return to the commission to get this authorization.
All right. So more like housekeeping more than anything. This is more like housekeeping
Yeah.
than anything else.
I would say I did have the staff comments that all other unresolved conditions for related site plans remain in effect, including not and not limited to the approved site plan be filed on the land records. I wasn't able to double check whether that had been accomplished. Bonding as always, soil erosion controls be in place as always. Again, those are the typical, but I wanted to point them out specifically. As you fumbled through the addresses, because that's the way I had to write them. There's been some discrepancy between the addresses assigned by the engineering department, the way they appear on applications, the way they appear in, on various documents. And I'm suggesting that the applicant work with the engineering department, building department, and of course our department, and the assessor to make sure each building is assigned properly, and we all know what that building is. That's a life and safety issue as much as anything else. As I said, the demolition of the remaining office building be completed prior to the occupancy. That would have not been, I don't believe that was a condition, but I'm suggesting it. And I just want to remind the applicant that the foundation as built is required prior to building construction framing, so they put the walls in. It is a prefab type of situation. So up to that.
All right, terrific. So do we have any questions for the applicant at this time?
They are in the room if you
Yeah.
have something, but.
Do you have anything?
I mean, it sounds like all of our concerns have been addressed. So, I mean, I'll make the motion to approve the site plan amendment with staff comments.
Okay, we have the motion by Mr. Rogan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, do we have further discussion? Then all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Commissioner.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, that should be how all of them, I wish you. Like, hey, now I gotta get that. All right,
Thing that went smoothly tonight.
I know. Hey. 892 Farmington Avenue, we have a signage permit. Did I skip anything? No, 892 Farmington Avenue signage permit for the Dollar General, Farmington Avenue Design Standard Review. Okay,
So I will hand these out to everybody.
okay.
So Dollar General is moving into, Matson's property across
Yeah.
from Penn Steel.
That's in the old writing,
The old
right?
writing, correct.
And- okay.
And they submitted, sign permits. The original design for the freestanding sign was the yellow sign with the black lettering. However, Farmington Avenue design guidelines prevent signs with big bright backgrounds, such bright yellow or orange backgrounds.
It's good. Then.
So I told the applicant to resubmit an updated sign that would conform with Farmington Avenue design guidelines.
Mhm.
And what you guys have right now is what was submitted, and what he's hoping to move forward with.
Okay, and what about and so we're just talking about the signage. What about the rest of the building? Because I know that we have design review on the outside of the building as well. Is that not correct?
It appears based on the sign application itself, it appears that the building itself will remain the same from what I've seen so far in permit application.
Okay.
We have no indication that there are modifications to the building happening. They haven't come to us with,
As far as lighting or anything else like that.
I don't believe so.
I mean, the only reason I ask, and I found this dollar store, and I think we had a brief discussion about it. It's in West Yarmouth, Massachusetts. And I don't know if you can't pull up a picture of that. But you can Google Dollar General and they give you for the Cape and it comes up with 3 addresses, but the West Yarmouth one is actually quite attractive. And I'm hoping that, let me see if I can, see if I can get it. Dollar General, yeah, it's Dollar General Cape Cod. And this is the one, and it's very actually close. And I'll just pass my phone, try not to hit the picture. But it's very close to what the old Rite Aid building looked like. And you see they have the different lights. And isn't that really nice? I mean, yeah, they have the same thing in Britain. Well, we need to step it up.
One of those.
Here, this is the picture.
Okay.
And I don't know if anyone can see it, but it has like a gooseneck lighting.
That's what's proposed.
It's
So
this is what's being
for
proposed.
lighting, the gooseneck lighting above the wall sign, that's also being proposed. Yeah.
But are they painting or siding the building? The building is
Cause this has like shape.
pretty old, we still looking right now. The drugstore that was in there had a sign up there and that's a different
I don't know
color
if
than the
anyone in
rest of the
public wants
building.
to see this.
So I
more
mean,
for
to
the
go be
recording.
taken care of on the outside. To spruce it up,
The same one, you got the same. one.
that's the question. You know,
Mhm.
we do have a design and review of that we've been using the Hardy board and looking and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That we've been using, and that building is not that way. Right now, so I'm just, you know, with the big project across the street. Using that design. I would worry about the building looking similar again. To project across the street or any other.
well,
buildings
yeah,
that
like
we have.
anything else that we expect of the people
You know,
that have businesses in that
the-
area.
No, it's been going all the way down Farm Avenue, so.
Yeah. Okay,
So
Maureen.
at this time, you know, if they're not proposing any changes to the building, there's no purview to compel it. To compel changes, I think any encouragement of modifications, if they decide to upgrade. They will be advised as you each mentioned, and will direct back to the minutes and the direction provided. But the application they have is purely replacement signage in the locations that signage exists on the building. And not for, as far as I know, I was just actually, until I pulled that up, I was making sure they didn't have any other exterior permits that are pending that maybe our office hasn't seen yet.
Yeah, because it's quite a shame because that's right in that whole updated area. And I would think that they would want to comply. and do right by the town, especially since they're taking over a premium spot. I understand that it's a retail location already, so the use is the same. However, they're coming and they're asking us about signage. And we really need to address, what is this thing gonna look like? Because you can have the best looking sign in the world, but if you've got a building that's distressed, I mean, it's going to look distressed. And it's gonna wear down on the rest of the, whatever the other developers are doing in the area.
I agree.
I don't think it's fair.
I have not spoken with anybody from them. I've only spoken to the owners. I had seen the last couple of days, it looked like they were going over with, I'm not sure if it was paint or what it was, but to go over the areas where basically the Rite Aid signage had been,
Yeah.
to give it one distinct look. I want to say it was a grayish color. So it would actually give it a more appealing and singular look. But from a perspective, I've never spoken with anybody about what they're doing. But I did see that was going on the last couple of days.
I would also
Do
have.
they own the building or are they?
No, the Matson family still owns both buildings, so they're just renting it $2 general.
Well, I think Matson family has to step up or something has to.
Well, the question I have too is that that building used to have parking in front of it. Okay,
Yeah,
and parking probably should be angled parking lot, angled parking because of the width of the parking in the front. And we look at this building here, it has the bumpers for cars not to go to the into the building, you know, the yellow bumpers and stuff like that.
I'm looking at the building itself, the design.
And it has some grass and stuff in the building here. So I think there's a lot of sprucing up that building can happen
So
in that area.
what I'm hearing is that we don't have the purview to, force them to do any of this, but it sounds like it's the consensus of the commission that we highly encourage a facade upgrade.
Yeah, I mean,
agree with you.
yeah, because they're looking for something from us.
The striping of the parking lot, it says they have parking.
That's let me get the building built.
No, but that's still, yeah.
So I'm holding up the Google Street View
You can-
of the property right now to remind everyone. So any site work that they do that is consistent with the last approved site plan, which should follow the striping that's there, as well as whatever was approved, remains in effect until they go to modify that. So they could restripe, resurface, et cetera, and if they did it in accordance with the existing valid site plan for the last time the building came through site plan approval, they can do that, they can maintain it accordance to that site plan, despite whether or not the site plan is perhaps antiquated in style for 2023. However, if they were to come in for any modifications, we would direct them here for design review.
Is that yellow? Is it painted yellow? That's yellow.
It appears yellow. I don't recall.
That
outside.
building had 3 signs on it, and then there was. Actually had another sign, I mean. The drugstore that went in there put way too many signs in.
Yeah, but
They don't have a problem with it.
And then the post, it looks like the post signage they have is blue. Is that right?
That was Rite Aid's. I'm sure that was
Rite
Rite
Aid.
Aid's. I can back up a little and.
But, that peak and stuff would look like this here, if you put the Dollar General sign in the peak. But those other 2 spots, the signs have been up there, you can see it's the old spots.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have. to paint over it.
Those should be painted over, we're doing the sign next to the road, which is basically grandfathered in. And if they're gonna put a sign on the building, then I wouldn't allow them to put like a Stop and Shop with, food here.
Well, no, I mean,
All
you'd be-
all the way
you'd
across
just-
the front.
You would just have one in the center.
Signage regulations allow for the square footage to be the square footage they're allowed based on their frontage. in a single rectangle that encompasses all the letters. So we have had the instances where there have been some businesses that have separated their words, but it still falls within an overall rectangle around the letters that meet the square footages, so it meets the regulation.
I just remember.
Just,
But we do that as well.
yeah, so they're just looking for this signage right now, the outdoor.
So they're looking to, and Dylan has actually been speaking with them, so if I'm wrong, interrupt me. But my understanding is they're looking to replace the face of the freestanding sign and replace the wall signage on the front of the building with individual letter with the gooseneck lighting as on the drawings that you've received.
Well,
And the background, you described the luminousness of
It's,
the
yeah,
sign.
it's an internally illuminated, the freestanding sign is an internally illuminated sign.
So it's grandfathered in, we shouldn't be using that word, as planners, but it's, non-conforming with regard to the interior illumination, so we can't take that away. However, your design guidelines and, percent of white background is regulated.
yeah, so it's like a
So
soft.
how
gray
much of it,
background.
white
or
lights
beige.
up is what's within.
If they paint the building, the gray that they have, and with the Dollar General sign that they you saw on the Cape Cod,
With the gooseneck
you know, I
lighting.
wouldn't have a problem, maybe the goosenecks, you know, go over the sign itself right there, but because the building's so long, maybe,
That's all right.
maybe some more goosenecks in the center,
Well,
which
they're
like the
they're just gonna-
buildings down the road. The two plazas that we did down the road, we let them put the goosenecks on. Each sign had a gooseneck and whatever, it's again conforming with the theme that we're going down the road with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the
Yeah.
thing, is that once you set the precedence, then all of a sudden everything starts to unravel, and then you wonder what your work is so hard.
I mean, I've been proud of the Farmstead Avenue actually starting to look good.
Well, yeah, and we want it to continue to look good.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so what we're gonna do with this one? Anyone else on it?
I mean, as far as I can see, it's only for the sign by the road. And I think it meets our standards as close as it can get, seeing as, I mean, as an existing internally illuminated sign.
It's not white, right? It's not white, black letters on white.
It appears to be beige with black lettering.
Allen Space, I guess is what it says. So, yeah, I will make the motion to approve the signage permit with the recommendation, that we highly encourage a facade upgrade to the building to match the character of the area.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, second. Do we have further discussion? I mean, I know this is a tough one because we're so limited to just the sign, and it's just not, the sign is not thrilling me. I don't know why, it's just,
No,
having the.
block.
no, it's better than the yellow, but there's,
Very bland.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if it had goosenecks on top of it and not being illuminated from interior.
Or
It'd have to be applying.
or a gray background like the Harvard
Well,
Health.
we need to
did,
try to
the
get better.
ambulance-
Huh?
The ambulance place down there did a gray background when we said it. You know, so maybe a gray background, I don't know, it goes
Yeah,
along with
maybe
that building.
gray, because maybe their building will go.
Like gray,
Their letters were lit, not the background, right?
yeah, their letters were like,
Yeah.
The letters were backlit, not the.
Sign.
right, so it's not the opposite lighting, but
But that's really conforming.
No, it didn't.
Yeah,
But that was a new sign.
It's just the plastic.
Really not.
I know, I said, well, yeah, and I keep thinking of different color background they could use. Maybe the gray, the soft dove gray would be better, or like a white gray.
We can,
I'll amend my motion if you want to change the background color to a softer light gray.
we can recommend.
Did we say it conformed? I mean, was it something that conformed?
Well,
Then,
I guess, go ahead, Brian. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so it's a non-conforming sign, but it's a pre-existing sign.
right,
So our purview really is kind of, restricted there as the. We don't allow internally lit signs unless it's internally lit letters, which is something we just. Dealt with about a year or two ago. But because it's an older sign that existed before. We had the design standards where we didn't allow for internally lit, it's allowed. Our purview over this is pretty much the colors. The bright yellow is not allowed underneath our regulations, which is why they came in with this light beige and black.
So,
Um,
I'm sorry, can I clarify just one thing?
Yeah.
So, case law says color is actually not under the town's purview. However, the intensity and the type of color, I guess, the type of shading is, and that's how we have the 1/3 white or light background was the text amendment we added a couple of years ago in order to deal with those light and bright backgrounds. And the design standards do identify those light, bright colors of yellow, white, orange, etc. So that's where color does come in, but color also doesn't come in. There's a limit.
So am I
It's like
understanding that I
tell people
can't,
what color
I
they
can't
can take
suggest a different
We can
tinted background?
suggest-
Can-
We can
I only suggest that that's the way it goes.
and ask that the intensity be
Diminished.
less.
So,
Yes.
Not gonna be
So that-
loud and screaming as you're
in
driving down.
conformance with the
Farmington.
design.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna go ahead and withdraw my motion at this point in time.
okay, so I draw the motion.
On my second.
Okay, so are you gonna remotion?
Have we decided what type of background color we'd like?
Well, I was just thinking that if we have like a subdued off white grayish kind of within that family.
Yeah. I guess we can suggest that.
Yeah, we can suggest, right? Would that be more attractive or more modern?
I don't think it makes much of a difference.
Well, yeah, but the intensity definitely should be dimmed and not be blaring.
Assuming that, then that could be the reason why the.
Well, maybe they get a
suggestion
hint
is that
hint
the-
from the things on which way to go with the building. So what do you think?
Yeah,
Scott? Whatever. Any of you guys? Audra, anything? Okay.
If I may, I'm
Yeah.
asking because I think you're struggling with a wording
Words.
of a motion, so it would be whether or not the proposal that they've given us is their application, that is their building permit application for the signage and modified, so should you move forward with a motion, positive motion to approve with modifications that reduce or lighten, right, or
Diminish
whiten
the-
or
Diminish the brightness of the.
yeah,
diminish
you know,
the
and put
brightness of
something
the
along
light.
those lines
Yeah.
in as opposed to changing their application.
they already agreed to a modification to that color that's here.
Yeah.
To suggest a little different color, I don't think it's
Yeah, but we just have to make sure we diminish the brightness. Well, this almost looks like a pinky thing. So it's what's it called? Balanced beige. Oh. So, anyway. Motion.
Okay.
Want to try it?
I'll try again.
Try again. Try the motion. Let's go, because we have people waiting.
Yes, so I'm gonna make the motion to approve this signage permit for the Dollar General on Farmington Avenue. With the recommendation that they perhaps choose something that diminishes the brightness a little more than the current background is. Which they can work with staff on if they so choose.
Stick it to staff.
And we also, I'd like to add into that motion that this commission highly encourages that they consider a facade upgrade to meet the character of what's happening on downtown
Yeah, the
Farmington.
growth of farmers.
Second.
Okay, we have a second, we have a motion by Mr. Rowe, we have a second by Ms. Dorsey. Do we have further discussion? And all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? So moved. Okay. Commission discussion to direct the staff drafting of text amendment on cannabis uses. All right. And this has got a lot of attention, I guess, because it's a fairly new thing here in town or whatever. And every town pretty much has to make up its minds as to how we want to address the issue in our town. Do we want to address it, and which direction we'd like to go in? Maureen, do you want to add anything? Because you have notes.
I do. I have a few notes
Yeah.
on this, and first I want to say for the record, I think all of you have been on the commission, except for our new alternate, that we've had 2 combined meetings with the town council on information, to disseminate information with regard to the cannabis uses. I think we were underwhelmed by the public participation, particularly at the forum that was just held a couple weeks ago, where we were really hopeful for information from the residents and taxpayers of town as to how the direction they and the input they'd like to have with regard to the regulations in their community. I was asked by the mayor to express his input to you, that he would encourage perhaps considering adding a little more time to the moratorium in order to perhaps try some other methods with which to get public input. Perhaps the staff with Corporation Council putting together a survey of questions. We have found some other communities that have done that. I think it was discussed at the last, or mentioned at the last meeting as well, combined meeting. The possibility also of a referendum, that of course wouldn't happen till November, and we may choose to take action before that or not. I would think from the staff standpoint, leaning towards a moratorium for another limited period of time and putting together a survey. I do think that the anonymity of a survey with regard to public input, I think we may get more participants. We did fairly well with the affordable housing plan, getting input on the survey. The plan of conservation and development, we had a little bit less input. But it also followed the affordable housing survey in short order, so. And they were, I think people may have perceived them as somewhat similar to each other. I would suggest that is perhaps a direction you might consider taking. When I say adding a short moratorium, I'm thinking like another 60 days to it or so. As you heard at the beginning of the public hearing, when we were scheduling the public hearing for the subdivision application, we need to notice that really make a decision on having a public hearing. 2 meetings, if the commission schedules it, you have given us authority to run ads for. A couple of years ago, when we started having these problems, you did give us the authority that I could run an ad in anticipation of you agreeing to the scheduling. But we really have to schedule public hearings 2 meetings ahead if the zoning commission is scheduling them, because if you were to decide to have a public hearing at your next meeting, we can't run the ad in time with new deadlines for the newspapers.
All right, so what do you, okay, so let me just
The
look
very
at,
next
currently, we have a deadline on the books of the end of May.
1st, yes.
All right, and that would mean that we would have to take this, make a decision to send that back to the council right?
No,
That goes back to our
so-
decision.
So I did confirm what I had indicated earlier. I confirmed with Corporation Council that there's two ways to go. The town, and this is a reminder of the cannabis, the new legislation with regard to cannabis. The town can establish an ordinance that relates to cannabis uses. And, or the Planning and Zoning Commission can institute zoning regulations related to cannabis uses. Unlike, I know there were a lot of provisions put in the regulations, in the public acts over the last couple of years, and some of them relied on twofold approvals where P and Z did something, then town council had to also opt out some of the opt-outs.
Mhm.
That is not the case with cannabis. It would be a zoning regulation if it was a zoning regulation, and it would be an ordinance, a decision of the town council if they went the route of the ordinance committee. So your zoning regulation does not go to town council for confirmation.
Okay, and if we were to extend the moratorium, I mean, to extend the moratorium, which because the due date is like the end of May. What would the new moratorium date be?
So I would say, I would tend to suggest out perhaps up to 60 days.
July
That would
31st.
give enough time to have draft regulations or get input, perhaps, hopefully, quickly pull together a survey and get it out there on social media and on the website, et cetera. And then note and give us some direction on how you would like us to draft those text amendments that either to allow, not allow, partially allow some of the cannabis uses, not others, et cetera. And then notice that text amendment for you to have a public hearing on the text amendment. It would be tight, but that would keep the process progressing.
We could go
90
days.
And you could go, there's no deadline. I confirmed that as well. No town council approval.
Is there
required,
no
No
state-
deadline on action.
There's no state deadline on that.
Because we have the moratorium. I think they might have listed yes
So
on action.
I-
They might have.
I have a thought, because I know that consumer protection is considering allowing outdoor growing. So there are possibly changes coming down the road that will be at the state level that might impact our decision.
Do you mean that at the state level that they would? If we decided hypothetically to opt out of everything, we don't want to sell it, we don't want to grow it, we want nothing to do with it, we want to walk away as a town and leave our town as is. Are you saying that the state could change the regulations, which would then force us to grow it?
No, I'm saying that they're considering changing the rules. So the rules in place now require for commercial growing, the growing has to be indoors and it's treated as an industrial use. It's not agricultural. But I know that consumer protection is considering allowing the plants to be grown outdoors. So I assume, because I only know this peripherally, but I assume that the industry will still be heavily regulated.
That'll be,
That's
Security
quite a difference.
But it is a big difference.
yeah.
Jill, again, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a quick question. So if we extend it, say 90 days or 60 days, can we extend it a second time, or is it a limitation of only one extension on the moratorium?
There is not legal restrictions on moratoriums. However, they should be used for limited time periods and with caution and with the progress in what your intention is to have the moratorium. So for instance, the multifamily application moratorium was extended to the end of August. We're just finished the affordable housing plan. We have the,
Yeah.
you know, the
We have six
plethora of
yeah.
uses, of reasons, including studies being done, and I would hope that would be difficult to challenge that moratorium because there's good reason. And again, gathering more information and actively doing so in order to be responsibly reactive to the conditions as they exist, I think is supportable.
And that's why I was asking, is that when we've had 2 public meetings and we didn't have a big turnout. And, you know, there were some questions raised, if I have my memory correct, at the last meeting I was able to attend. That, you know, survey was brought up in conversation. You know, maybe taking the time to try to get more public input. And after 60 days, if that's not enough, could we extend it? Is there another method you feel we should try again with the public of Berlin? That's why I was saying, does 60 days limit us? But it does not, if we have a good reason. So it could be extended. I personally feel that it seems like a good thing to extend the moratorium to allow us to get more public input.
Well, I think that that's, I mean, thinking along those lines, all right. My thing would be, we could do a survey or we could put it out there. I'm not sure what your participation is going to be. I know with the POCD, we had awful time trying to get people to get online to take a survey about what direction the town wants to go in. But now you've got this other question out there and we're going to put a survey out there. I'm not sure what the participation will be. And I don't know if in another public hearing or informational hearing might be better than a survey. But now the caution I have on the flip side is that as we get closer to summer and school gets out, people disappear. And they go on vacation, they got, you know, other things going on in their lives, and they got weddings, they're traveling, and they're enjoying themselves. And they may not want to do a survey, they may not want to come to a public hearing. And so I'm wondering how fruitful that's gonna be for us.
It's my opinion that we had 2 public hearings. There was public participation in those hearings. Not very
No, it's very low, it was very low.
so,
percentage, was
I mean, it comes down to every time they have a referendum or they have anything, they're really not a big
Yeah.
turnout in the
Yeah.
town for anything.
Mhm.
But with that said, with the facts that we received, I don't see any other facts that we received in our paperwork that we received from our town attorney, from public hearings, from the speakers, and everything else. I don't think that's gonna change,
Well,
okay? And that's where our decision has to be made from. And if I was gonna make a decision tonight, I'm 2 ways on this. I don't think we need a retail establishments in town, personally. Every town around of us has approved
Mhm.
already. Cromwell 2, New Britain 3, Meriden 3 or something like
Yeah.
that. Stonington or Plainville, one of the 2 did it already. With that, the retail. You're stepping over a line, the state line, I mean, a town line.
Yeah.
And you go right up the turnpike and you're 2 miles to do another one. Okay, so the retail in, I don't see us needing the benefits to it. There is some benefits to it with the tax thing benefit. But the negatives to it, I think just about weigh the same amount. Either way. You know, and the availability, you're talking about saturation of the
Mhm.
area. So each town having their, around us having it, the saturation. You know,
Yeah.
what do you go make off that tax dollar?
Yeah.
Because of the saturation around town, okay? Now the growing in an industrial area. With the restrictions they put on their security restrictions and cameras and they got really down tight on that, more tight than I've ever seen a state come down. I don't have a problem with that. You know,
Yeah.
or even that distributor one. Packaging,
No.
but I don't think that's a big thing because there's gonna be all these growers. And why would they would have put a middleman in the middle?
Don't hit her.
I'm sorry.
She's-
Talking over my- I'm talking over my hand. I think I got Cugno in me to do an Italian. But that's the opinion of mine on this thing, and so I mean, to me, to go to another 60 days. It's not a big thing to do that. But I don't think it's necessary because the town hasn't taken the initiative. The thing, you know, we had very small couple people talk in favor
Yeah.
of in the whole town. That percentage is so small, the people that the whole town. I think the decision can be made tonight, one way or the other. You know, and it's up to the commission to do that.
I mean, my personal opinion is even if we decided to start drafting text on it. Staff still needs time to write it, so to have it written properly, seeing as that our deadline
Yeah,
is.
we recommended it.
We could also.
But our recommendation to staff would our attorney
I
to
would
draw up, we
recommend-
can come up with that.
Yeah, but I still recommend at least giving staff time to write text by doing additional 60 days or 90 days. I think Commissioner Dorsey brought up an excellent point tonight, which is that with the state changing the rules, we don't know what the final result of what commercial production or retail production is going to be allowed to do. So we have to address that in any text,
Yeah,
as well
So,
as not just doing a
I think we
blanket.
can do that with our zoning.
Yeah.
We can say it's gotta be industrial or can't be outside grown, whatever. I think we could say that in our zoning,
Yeah,
because it's already given us the
industrial,
authorization to do retail or not, or do industrial or not. So the outside growing is another part of that
I
zoning.
think June wants to, let me,
Yeah, let's-
let me go ahead and see.
What, there's a lot of learnings that can be made if we don't rush it on our end. We learn by how towns around us within the state are making decisions and the results of that. We're learning what our towns next to us are doing and how does that impact us. To hurry through this may not be a benefit to the community versus even planning and zoning. And I think if there's a concern about trying to do better for our town and reaching out to the community and getting their input, also to provide more education. I know we've got very good information on the town site that the attorney has put on. That information hasn't necessarily gotten out, and I think it behooves us to do our best to communicate that information, add the information if there's questions that continue to arise about the details of, let's say marijuana, because that's my old term. But
Gotcha.
I think that if we go slow to this, you know, there's not a negative to it. We can still make a decision, yes or no, but it allows more information, more communication to be pursued. And so I still feel that you know, adding a moratorium would be
Mhm.
beneficial.
Diane, did you have something?
I just wanted to clarify that, so, Consumer Protection has drafted, proposed regulations that, are going to be in like a workable format over the next 4 years. So even though I know they're planning on, modifying those regulations, the process, could take up to 4 years before they finalize what they're doing.
That's the,
So just,
Mhm.
If I may, I would, go off of what Commissioner Zigma commented on is that the regulations that you adopt can have some specificity to them. I'd advise that the special permit uses, let's just start with that. And therefore, you've got a lot of specificity you can give with regard to it and as to what the parameters are for. Let's say it was growing and they changed the rules as to growing. Let's just go off that topic offhand without any real substantive knowledge. You could presumably require it to be only an industrial zone indoors, an enclosed facility. Even if the state has looser regulations, your zoning regulations could be more restrictive
No.
with regard to that, just like you prohibit. So,
what I
So,
understand tonight, you're just looking for advice. To start the homework for a zoning
which
thing.
way should that
So-
go? Because
Yeah.
if we're gonna hold a public
Can we
hearing
take a,
by the end of May, we need the direction now as to whether we would be noticing it for a moratorium extension or noticing a public hearing, which would be the second meeting in May, because we're too late to notice for the first meeting unless we really do some magic. Or whether it be for text,
All right,
and we'd have to be drafting that text.
all right, I just want to,
promptly.
I want to get to this side of the aisle here, and I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to chime in. Andrew, Scott,
I agree with Commissioner Zigma. I mean, we've had, what, 2 meetings already and there's been nobody there.
Mhm.
So it's like, I understand that this could be good, but I mean, for our community, I can't, I just, I can't see it.
Mhm.
I mean, like Commissioner Zigma said, go to your local town, go 2 minutes to New Brain, go down to Meriden.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
It's something that I just think that would lead to. I mean, if it's for medical use, absolutely. I just don't, I'm not in favor of having that in this. community.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay, and you were gonna
well, I'm just asking if we should
do a
get a
straw.
general opinion of the commission and go down with the opinion, see what the commission's opinions are. It'll give a guideline to Maureen. Okay, I have no problem with the 60 days because it's gonna take 60 days for the attorney and Maureen to figure it out. Okay,
Well, they gotta figure out what we want.
just because of the state and wordings is gonna be miserable on this, and I'm sorry that you're gonna get into this, to tell you the truth. So I don't have a problem with the 60 days. I think that we should put guidance to the staff tonight and then vote on it in the end of May, June, whatever, it is,
Yeah, so are you, okay,
July.
so are we suggesting that we just leave the whole thing, the retail and growing all in one clump? Or do we want to pull out any part of it, like
No,
the retail part of it,
I would pull out my opinion is pull out the retail.
and maybe
okay.
vote on the retail today?
We could, well, no, it's just an opinion today of
Opinion.
guidance to the staff. So if you just go through the commission and say
Like a straw poll?
like straw poll, and say, what do you think about retail? What do you think about distribution or center? And either item. And then the staff has a guide where he's going for that 60 days.
Yes,
So not, I'm not suggesting one way
No.
or another as far
Okay.
as the way
yeah,
to
we're just.
go, but an alternative is also, I'm hearing. If I heard negative on retail, that, you know, perhaps direct staff to start drafting the regulation with regard to prohibiting that. And a moratorium to continue on other cannabis uses. You could still, at the time you have the public hearing for those, or for those, decide to extend the moratorium entire,
Okay.
you know, and not adopt that regulation this time, but, you know, that's a little more tricky, but you can break out the different types of regulations.
Okay.
We don't like the wording that staff comes up with and the attorney comes up with. We can keep on pushing it,
Yeah.
okay, until
And
we
you
got,
can modify.
until we feel
So
comfortable.
what,
Modify it.
just give us, start to go down that path and give a sense of
Give
direction.
them the 60
So,
days.
Well, if say we're doing for commercial production, can we still get input from people in town?
Sure.
Because that way we might say, oh, let's make it more restrictive here.
Yeah.
Because. we-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, definitely.
Absolutely.
Do those surveys.
As long as that
With
moratorium
surveys, and I
on
hope
getting
we can
people
public
in
hearing.
line.
An informational hearing with the council, a joint. I'd like to suggest another one. We'll have it in the chamber. Have it here, not at the high school, because I think that just puts people off. I think just say, come to your town hall and come to this, you know, just, we want some feedback.
And on Zoom, and you know, so the town don't want to come here, they can go on Zoom.
So, all right. So where do we want to start this? Do we want to talk about the retail first? Do we want to see what, just informational, how do you feel about retail?
Opinions.
Just an opinion.
I feel in some of the decisions we've made as a planning and zoning commission, we have had open forums to where we've gotten feedback from the community. I don't feel I have enough feedback from the community since we represent them to decide one way or vote one way or another. I think it's important as a commission that we do take the feed of what the community thinks as part of our consideration. And even though we've had minimal turnout, we still have to do our due diligence to offer opportunities. So I cannot
Okay, well,
suggest one way or the
all right.
other.
But what, I guess this is more, it's a non-binding sort of direction. In other words, if for some reason, the consensus of the commission is that we do not want to get involved with retail at all in town, then at least it gives Maureen sort of a heads up to start thinking about drafting language at this point, but it doesn't have any bearing on whether or not that actually passes with the planning and zoning. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
But to June's point,
Yeah,
that language would go to public hearing,
yeah,
so the public would have input.
yeah. It's not automatically adopted by us. It was just to give her a direction so she could, in her free time, start to think about language.
I might rephrase the straw poll.
All right,
Do you, would, whether extend the moratorium
think-
or give direction
I think we're
on
gonna have to-
specific aspects.
we're
So
gonna
I
have to
think
extend the
that's what the
moratorium. I think that's a given. We have to extend the moratorium.
Seems to be.
And we're probably gonna have to do it, what, we wanna do it for 60 days, from May, June, July.
I would recommend 90.
Yeah,
Everyone's looking at 90 days.
go shorter or longer, you know. and it's-
Well, that's it.
We still.
So
go
do the
shorter or
90,
days.
and if we get it done before then. So we'll do the moratorium.
So we need a motion to extend the moratorium on this. Do we?
Yeah,
And then, can we keep this,
Separate.
yeah, let's keep the discussion separate. So part A, I'll make the motion to extend our moratorium on cannabis uses for another 90 days.
wait a minute, hold on. That's gonna put us where?
Uh,
June, July, August, end of August. Do we want to go into,
We can always extend it again, or.
well, end of August, people should be back from vacations, right?
Yeah,
Okay, end of August. And if we get into a jam, we'll just push it into September. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. All right. So
That was, yeah, I need a second.
I second.
second, okay, thank you, Jim. Further discussion on that? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Okay. And then what else do you need from us? That's it for now? Or do you need?
The reason is why,
Up to you,
No.
whether or not you, no, you'll put that on the record when you get the text amendment. So what we'll do is we'll, and a reminder for anyone who may not have been, knowing what we were doing, as far as process goes, but we'll schedule that as a public hearing. It is another text amendment, and the text amendment is to extend a moratorium to a new date. You can debate that date at that time as well.
Okay.
And change
Can
it.
we recommend to our attorney the way we did the other? Thing that just came up, I forgot what it was even. She wrote a thing on the subject this way and then thing on the subject. this
Oh, a
way.
decision. We wrote
Yeah.
a decision.
Right,
And
decision both ways,
Right.
okay? So one decision would be basically no retail and industrial growing. The other decision is
No to everything.
approving all of them. Or,
You could.
well, it could be three of them, it could be
Yeah.
three there.
Well,
We
I
don't
think
want
what we're gonna
anything,
do-
we don't, but we can put a guide to them and say, listen, give us a couple.
Yeah, but the other thing too, that's more
Guideline.
important is if you're looking for public feedback, so. To me, what would be more important is setting up this joint meeting with the council. And getting it out there, and hopefully we can do it before the kids get out of school. And that will give us time to figure out what direction we're going in. And then, I mean, as far as, writing all these, I mean, I don't want to tie up the attorneys, and certainly I want to burn anyone's brain out trying to figure out all the different scenarios and the different language involved, but I think if we have the public hearing or the information on it, and then they do like a survey online, a very limited, I mean, you've got 2 weeks to respond kind of a thing. I think then you'll be able to find out what direction the town wants to go in. And then we'll have better direction as we're discovering this stuff, as it's being made, as to what direction we want the language to be in. So
We're looking to do a
a joint meeting,
joint meeting.
yeah, on the in the town hall.
And I don't know, we could suggest the date to the town council.
Well, no, I just want it before the schools get out, because I think it's important to try to catch the kids. So you're talking about the beginning of June.
Yeah,
You're
well,
talking about
yeah,
the, beginning of June. and-
June 16th, usually the schools get out, something like that.
Yeah, but I'm
you
just
know.
saying, let the mayor pick, let the council have a chance to pick a date. That's good for them
Just
too.
the town council, the beginning of June.
All right.
And again, a public forum,
Yeah, make it a
Review,
public, yeah,
so
just for taking in. input.
obviously the commission and having forum, if it's a meeting, is important.
Mhm.
It will be noticed as a meeting. But we do know that many of you have attended. I think everyone got to the last one.
Yeah, everyone's here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I was not yet on the commission.
Yeah.
Was not yet on. Again, they are recorded. Meetings are recorded. Obviously, sometimes they're a little more challenging to listen to than other times, but they can be listened to and joined remotely. And so if a date is picked that physical presence is difficult, you'll still have feedback. Because whoever comes is still speaking. It's not really the forum for the commission to talk about the item or the
Yeah.
town council to talk about the item. It's a forum for the public to give the public officials guidance.
Yeah.
So I think that's just notable as far as.
We should be
goes.
just
Okay, so do we have
enough information.
All right, so do we have a
yes,
You have a motion and a
motion? You
second
have a second?
to prepare text for a moratorium.
Yeah,
for an
and so
additional
now,
90 days.
all righty. And so further discussion on this, all those in favor? Those opposed, so moved. Okay,
So I will schedule that. for
just
May
because I
18th
want to make sure we're going
For
with
the next moratorium.
All right, on to new business, thank goodness. Site plan amendment application somewhere over the spectrum, 120 Webster Square Road, Click Village, Unit 160 for fencing to enclose an outdoor area. And what do we have on this?
So this is an inquiry from, it started out as an inquiry from the, somewhere over the spectrum. They have, last year they came in, they're occupying 120 Webster Square Road, which is the first building on the right as you enter into the Stick Village. They came in last year with what started as zoning compliance for fencing to enclose their therapeutic outdoor area. During the meeting, P and Z asked that we modify it to be a site plan amendment for that fencing. So it was acted on as a site plan amendment. The 5th or 7th building, depending on whether you count the buildings that are attached to each other in order, but the building, the last building on the, or the first building on the left as you walk, which drive into the complex is newly built right now. And somewhere over the spectrum will also be occupying that space. And this is a request to modify that site plan to include a fenced area for their therapeutic.
So they're gonna
Use
occupy
outside.
two wings.
Two of the buildings in the village.
All right, now here's the problem I have, because I do go to some of the businesses there. And one of the complaints that I've been hearing about lately is that the landlords, or the tenants, should I say, have been complaining to Mr. Wickland about the lack of parking. Apparently, since the Spectrum thing, the school came in, which they don't have a problem with. They find that the cars are parking in their customer spots and they're staying basically all day. They're not, some of the parents aren't dropping off. They're like actually parking the car and going in and staying. And it's what's happened now is that a lot of the handicap spaces have been strained. And so now people who normally would have a handicap space in front find themselves parking all the way back and then trying to compromise the parking lot. So businesses have had to have had their customers coming to say to them, I can't park near this business because there's no parking. What's going on? And so that's a complaint that I heard from a couple of the businesses within it. And so I'm wondering what he's going to do as a resolve to it.
So that was brought to my attention.
Oh, goody.
And I do believe actually the applicant is online as well, but they have responded to me with regard to their use. I'll start in one main issue, however, is that they have been still going under construction and the parking lot's not fully developed.
This was before there was construction. This is when they first established their business.
So,
And
and
that's when the strain started to appear.
okay, so the additional parking that is associated with each of the phases as they're going through
Yeah,
the building should be adding parking as well.
it should be,
So
but
that should be happening. She
And
did
apparent-
reply
yeah.
to me with, an email with regard to speaking to staff about their parking, et cetera, and
Yeah.
that she had counted on several occasions that there was ample parking. It's just the parking does tend to be spread out, so.
yeah.
That is something for landlords to work with their
Well,
tenants
I think
to
it's-
resolve.
Yeah.
The town has limited authority to sell them. You have to assign these spaces to certain people.
I
But
understand
they
that.
can be,
Yeah.
tenants can put pressure onto their landlord
Yeah.
as well to perhaps add handicap spaces in excess of what's required.
Yeah,
That may mean that you lose some spaces because the lot was designed in such a way for a certain number of spaces, including handicap, and therefore if they make some spaces larger to provide for handicap, they may have to reduce the overall number, which they have to go back to the commission to do.
yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that this is
But I
a
did
problem
bring
that,
it up to them and they
Yeah,
were.
and
I
apparently
see, from my standpoint, as a staff person, who's been zoning for a while, very receptive to,
I'm not-
oh, didn't know that was it, you know, an
This-
issue. I'm looking to resolve it.
So,
I'm
So-
not saying that my issue is with them, with Spectrum. I'm saying my issue is with Mr. Wickland. This is, and apparently the landlords have been going to him. And he's sort of like, well, you know, it costs money to make parking spaces and everything, and that's all fine and dandy. But you want to put businesses in there, you've got to give businesses the ample parking. So my issue is more with Mr. Wickland than it is with
Well,
Spectrum, but please,
is this
I
coming back as,
will also bring it to him,
yeah.
this is a site plan amendment right now, right?
just for
Oh,
the
just,
fencing,
that's right.
because the use
Right,
is a
but that-
permitted use.
that
in
opens
the
up the-
village, so
That
therefore-
opens up the whole development again, because you're doing a site plan again on it. I'm just saying that there is a big parking lot in the back of it.
And it is.
That no one uses
No,
basically,
oh, no, a lot of people utilize that.
but, you know, if that parking in the back is used for staffing parking, then that opens up front parking.
But what I'm trying to tell you is that they do, the businesses I've talked to, they do utilize that parking in the back. But still, their customers can't get to the parking that's in front because of the flow of the businesses.
But the parking lot in the back's not full every time I seen it.
Well, every time I tried to park back there, because there's shade during the
So
summer
if
back
it's
there. and I
restricted
can
to
see
staff
the-
parking, restricted staff parking down there, you're going to open up some
No.
parking place up front.
I did drive by recently and I did notice that where you see, if you look at this and you see staff parking
Mhm.
and pickup parking. There is all new parking lot there, so I guess I just don't see where you'd add additional parking on the lot. That parking has been completed. Down here, I think that's like a swale that goes.
Like I said, I don't have a problem with the business. I just want to make sure that these people have enough parking. This is
And I
the
understand
time for me
that.
to ask for.
I just don't know where you put it.
And that's the question. too, yeah, where you put the parking.
So
Yeah,
just
I
to clarify, the site plan was approved with the assigned parking that is the eventual completed parking plan with each of the buildings and I probably can pull out or perhaps can pull out the site plan, but I don't know that we brought up the whole file. Did we,
No,
we
that's
brought up the
okay.
site plan,
That's okay.
but
I just
I
want-
would imagine that because it is the mix of uses, multiple tenants on a single lot, the commission at the time of approval of the Stick Village development probably gave a waiver of the 20% or so of parking required for each use, so therefore ended up with the lot as the lot is designed. It was designed for those square footages and the number of parking spaces. So if they were to reorient them, redesign them, add additional or redesign them so that they lost spaces by adding more handicap spaces, they would need a
Yeah.
minimum zoning review. It may still fall within the perimeters that were approved, and therefore we, unless directed otherwise, we do it administratively in the office. But if we were asking for a further waiver in order to accommodate handicap spaces or would it either come through you or zone board of appeals to reduce the
So-
parking required.
I'm looking at one of the last pages in the packet and it's C1 at the bottom. And if you look at it, the only space left on that parcel is designated as a retention pond. So that parcel is fully built out at this point.
That's my understanding.
I don't
Like I
see
said,
it.
we don't have the full plan up here. I thought we might, but
All right,
It's kind of,
we didn't.
Brian, I know what you're saying, and I just want to put it on record.
yeah.
All right, that's more my point,
Mhm.
is I want to note it for record that I'm just not happy with Mr. Wickland's parking lots. And I don't know how he's gonna, rectify it, but, he may have to. Especially since, as our applicants are thinking of putting on this addition here, well, not addition, but
Everything closing that outdoor therapeutic area. And again, it is a site plan amendment and they are online to
Yeah.
present their application.
All righty, and good evening. I'm sorry that you had to listen to that a little bit. But like I said, it was not aimed specifically at you. It's just your landlord and the cooperation that we need from him. So let me ask you something about this new facility that you're looking at. How many students will you have there?
We're thinking we'll probably have about 21 clients when we're completely full.
Just for the record, could you each state your name if you're gonna speak and for our secretary, thank you.
My name is Alyssa Gregg.
Okay. So there's gonna be 21 students at this facility, and then you still have a full house across the way, right?
Correct.
How many students do you have there?
We will have, once we move this, probably 16.
Okay,
Probably 16 to 18, and this is Courtney Welch speaking.
okay.
How many do you currently have there?
We currently have 18.
So you'll be maintaining basically those 18 students, but now you're opening up for an additional 21 students.
Up to 21, yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Questions? All right. Well, all right, what's the pleasure of the commission then? This is just a site plan amendment application, because you're looking to do fencing, and the fencing is going to be similar to what you currently have. I'm sorry, fencing will be similar to what you currently have at the site location number 1, right?
Correct. The
All right.
exact same fencing.
So the fencing is not taking up any parking places or obstructing any traffic flow or something. It's in the,
Correct. No,
back
not
of-
traffic or anything.
In the back.
In the back of the building, I will just also note that we did check with the wetlands agent, and because you would, as you mentioned, the detention is back there with wetlands on that north end, and it will not require wetlands review. Is that correct? You talked to him.
correct.
All right, what's the pleasure of the commission?
And you also took the application one more time, question.
Yeah.
How many employees would you have in that building?
In the new building, there'll be roughly 22.
Yeah.
22.
22 employees, okay.
So just for clarification, you'll notice, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but in their description, it's basically one-on-one client.
Yes, that's correct. Each of the children require a one-to-one.
And at your site location number 1, you have the 18 students, so does that mean you have 18 employees there?
We probably have, I would say, like 23 employees, because there's myself, Alyssa, and my one of the other directors and owners, along with 2 other office staff. So in that other building, there won't be the excess of probably 4 additional office staff.
All right, so at building site number 1, I'm sorry to call it that, but just so we can keep the visual, you'll have 18 students, but 23 employees.
Correct.
All right.
We
And-
have some other employees that work off-site.
Okay. And then at site number 2, you'll have 21 students and 22 employees.
It might be 22 to 24. I think it would depend on the day too.
Yeah, at times, some of our employees might come in for like a half day and then they go and see a client in the community. So 22 bodies, you could say.
Okay. All right. Questions?
Excuse me, I do have a question.
Yes.
Because I'm hearing a mix of terminology, and I did go over this with the applicant. But as opposed to these are clients that I understand are not there all day. It's not the same client there all day as though it's a school. It's a medical service. or quasi medical slash therapy
Behavioral health.
service and not classified as schooling. So they do fall into different categories of zoning. And I wanted to make that clear, and I want them to confirm that because that's how we process the paperwork. So I'd like them to explain. And it was done with their last application as well, if I recall correctly, but just want to get that clear as to what the use of the property is.
So we perform behavioral health. It's a behavioral health outpatient center. We work with clients between the ages of 16 months and 12 years old. And some of our kids are there for a 45-minute session. Some are there for half-day sessions, and some are there for longer duration. So from 8:30 to 3:30, depending on their need for therapeutic services, and kind of their overall schedule. Some of our kids attend, they may attend pre-K for half day and then come to us for half of the day for services. Some may attend schools and come to us for one occupational therapy session. So there's a mix of what our kids are there for, but it is all for therapeutic interventions. And we do call them clients, not students, because we are not a school nor a daycare facility.
Okay, so, but your employees, when they come to work, they come to work for an 8-hour day, basically.
Some of our clients work in the community, so they may be at a daycare, they may be at a private school, Montessori schools, Catholic schools in the area. They may work half day in one of those settings and then come to our center from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. We have BCBAs, board certified behavior analysts. They may work in the community, so within a 15-20 mile radius of our center. They may travel to people's homes, different private schools, daycares, preschools, as well as work with some of the clients within our center.
Okay, but you understand where the squish comes with the parking spaces. Because the numbers you gave me are 24 and 23, so there's possibly 47 people that might be driving a car and all have to convene on that plaza.
And I know there are 29 new spots that will be within this parking area. And, I do walk the parking lot on a daily basis, and there's, just in the back of the parking lot, I typically see 30 to 40, probably 40 spots usually on a daily basis available, as well as some in the front too. So but I do understand, I don't.
Or are surprised that the numbers come. Okay,
I just counted up the park places on this.
good.
That's a drawing. And if they were the guest pick up and drop off, if they have 18 spots. For guests and drop off pickup on that building. If that parking, but the staff parking here directed here is
Hopefully that'll do it.
Is 21 staff parking, 22 staff parking. Okay, now the question is that I see over the other side, building across the street, across the parking lot. And there's staff parking more 11. And if both buildings are having over 20 staff,
Well, okay,
then I'm just wondering,
yeah.
we're short of staff for both people, that we don't have 40 state parking places.
Well, with the parking sort of ballooned on us, but they are here for the fence enclosure outdoors. So what do we want to do with that? Because I think Maureen understands that, we'll have to talk to Mr. Wicklund on a separate issue. So
I'll make a motion.
And they say that we're actually, Dylan went to run to get the full-size site plan because it's not loading on my computer
Oh,
either.
I feel sorry because we're gonna move on.
But the zoning information and the parking table is there, and, really it is about square footage that parking is
Yeah,
created, and, when you have,
okay,
vital, or rather, vibrant businesses,
yeah,
you get parking squishes, and
Yeah.
when things are vacant, you get a lot of empty spaces, and,
yeah,
um,
Okay.
unfortunately, in this instance, it was approved in this,
yeah.
but
Okay.
for what seems to be.
So we're gonna address the outdoor fence, or, so Mr.
I make
Zigmatti,
a motion to approve the outdoor fence.
okay,
It's not in no way of anything.
all righty. Second by Scott Hamill. And further discussion, all those in favor, all righty, supposed to move, let's go in. All right, so public hearings, number one, the proposed amendment of planning and zoning staff to the Berlin zoning regulations, section 11 DD. Planned residential infill development. And we have a public hearing that's been opened, and we're still in the process. And this is, yeah, oh, you gotta read, okay, go.
Somebody else
Sorry.
can do it if they want.
No, go ahead, Brian.
Town of Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission, notice of public hearing. The Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, April 20th, 2023 at 7 PM in the Town Council Chambers, Berlin Town Hall, 240 Kensington Road, Berlin, Connecticut. Interested parties may join the meeting and participate in the public hearing in person or remotely as provided below. A, zone change application of Ralph Y. Ed Hayek. I hope I got that right. Member CRL Hayek LLC to change the zone of map 16-1, block 106, lots 27, 27A, and 27B, Berlin Turnpike from Berlin Turnpike 2, BT2, ST ED2 overlay to Berlin Turnpike 1, BT1 zone. The application and related meeting materials are available at the Planning and Zoning Department, Berlin Town Hall, 240 Kensington Road, Berlin, Connecticut. Dated this 4th day of April, 2023 at Berlin, Connecticut. Brian Rogan, Secretary, Planning and Zoning Commission, New Britain Herald, legal notices / classified advertising, dates of publication. Saturday, April 8th, 2023, and Monday, April 17th, 2023.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So the first one we have is we're talking about the text amendment of the staff for the zoning regulations regarding section 11 DD, which is a planned residential infill development. We've all had a chance to look at this stuff, and when do we have to decide that text amendment?
So that the text amendment is a, staff. Applied a text amendment, so the statutory deadlines do not apply to it.
Okay, I mean, if we were to put this off and not discuss it today, just to move the rest of the agenda forward. How would that?
Do we have people here that are in the audience interested?
Well,
That have waited.
well, that's true.
That would be.
All right. Let me ask, is there anyone here who is here for the text amendment? That would be, for the planned residential infill development?
Can you explain that?
Yes.
So first off, I want to say anyone that has to speak needs to come to the podium because we can't. We have a
Just-
recording, so you just have to. I'm sorry for that. And then I'm gonna jump ahead to the question because the question was asked, and
Okay.
hopefully I can do this in a summary version. So we have text in the zoning regulations. From that were a part of an amendment to the zoning regulations several years ago. That allow for reuse of existing motel sites. And the text itself was called the Planned Residential Infill Development regulation, and the type of development, and it's for multifamily housing to be built on sites where motels that exist, they're a pre-existing non-conforming use would become a benefit at that time.
So it sort of breathes new life into the
To redevelop.
the the worn out or the worn down motels that are existing on the Berlin Turnpike to give them an option.
So we have had, there was and I'll just give a little more background. There was an application for a planned residential infill on one specific site. It garnered a lot of attention once it was being discussed as far as what concerns are, concerns with the regulations, concerns with the application, and the design, the regulation itself. And we also had an application to delete the text that was denied. And this application by staff to amend the regulation, primarily at the direction of the Planning and Zoning Commission, as to how the regulation can be modified to make it more in line with what the commission envisions in the plan of conservation and development and the affordable housing plan, all would like it to be, instead of the specifics of the regulation as it is. You've had four different meetings where it was either discussed reasonably at length or in a cursory manner. That's happened on January 19th of this year. That's when the public hearing was open for this text. The text has been, and actually it's one of my concerns actually with continuing tonight. We brought the text up on the screen and redlined it in real time at a couple of these meetings, and that continued to February 2nd, February 16th, and March 2nd. Any other meetings the commission has had during that time, it was not discussed.
I believe
This
that.
date will be added.
Yeah, and so I don't know if we were here to specifically talk to the commission about this application, because if there was no one here to participate in it, I would entertain the idea of postponing this discussion until our next meeting, so that we could move on with the rest of the agenda. But it seems that you want to discuss it, so that's okay. That's good with me.
Well, I'm Richard Hudson, okay, I live at 949 Worthington Ridge, top of Middletown Road, the brick house. And if we're talking about the same property, we're talking about the property that's that has the old gas station on it, is that correct?
No, not this particular, not
Then,
this.
then how did
application,
we hop from,
Because I'm on public hearing number 1A.
So the call of the hearing was already read at a previous.
oh,
meeting
I'm sorry
because
then, I
it's
apologize.
opened. So our secretary read the call that was added.
Okay,
The other
because
hearing
I'm looking
is
at this and I'm seeing public hearing, number 7, okay, A and B, and then I look at, number 8, old business. And it seems to be the same information, or I've got that incorrect.
No, that's the way the agenda reads. In other words, if you were in a public hearing and it's still open, then when it falls to old business. So the reason it does that is if there's an action by the commission during the public hearing. In other words, if we decide to close the public hearing, in other words, we're not going to take any more testimony from anyone else so that we can deliberate and decide.
Correct.
Then we would close it during the public hearing. And it would resurface under old business that would allow us to deliberate and either continue with the deliberations or make a decision on the item. So that's why it reads twice.
All right, so I need to wait till the second
Yeah,
portion.
and see-
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
I just need that clarification.
I'm trying to help you guys out because I see everyone patiently waiting and I know it's not about the residential developments or the.
Yeah, no, I'm very confused about
Well,
that.
no, I don't want you to be confused. That's why I'm saying, would you entertain a motion
Thank
to
you.
delay a
Thank
discussion
you.
about the residential, because I'm looking at the hour. And I'm just trying to be mindful of everyone who works. So can we just table this or
I'll make a motion to table
item?
item A in public hearings.
All right, thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Rogan. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. Now we're gonna get on to item B, the zone change.
To our next meeting, the May 4th.
Yeah, let's put it on to May 4th and we'll just, hopefully we'll be able to tackle it then.
I do
This
have some
meeting
additional
ran-
information to disseminate that we'll do hopefully like maybe early next week, we might get a separate mailing.
Okay.
I'll probably try to send it out either by email or mail,
That's,
because I have put together some more information, but it's not wrapped in a bow yet either.
okay,
So,
all right, terrific. It's just that I do want to help people get home. Anyway, zone change application of Ralph Y. Ed Hayek, member of CRL Hayek LLC, to change the zone of map 16-1, block 106, lots 27, 27A, and 27B, Berlin Turnpike, from the Berlin Turnpike 2, which is the BT2 zone, SPDD2 overlay, to the Berlin Turnpike 1, the BT1 zone. Okay, Attorney Sullivan, we have you here. Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry this agenda ballooned on us. Go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Attorney Timothy Sullivan on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Hayek, who is here today, sitting in the middle of the back row. He's here with his son, Tony, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. It is getting late. My client is seeking to change the zone of lots 27, 27A, and 27B of block 106, located on the west side of the Berlin Turnpike, from BT2 and the SPDD2 overlay zone to BT1. The reason for this request is because of the more limited uses provided in the BT2 zone as opposed to the BT1, which provides 15 or so more uses and makes the property much more developable. This property was previously a gas station and a trucking company. It has been vacant for 30 years. So it needs to be refreshed, and by changing the zone, it will enhance the likelihood of this being refreshed and redeveloped. Technology, I guess, has failed us tonight. So,
Miserably.
yeah, so it may be that we have to continue this to get a full scale look at this, but I don't know what's in your package. But I was going to refer to a picture that is part of the application and as part of the pictures of the zone sign. I don't know what's in your package, but I was just going to try to have everybody take a look at the existing site. I have a picture of it. It's, yeah. No, I've got it. Yeah. So everybody, and that's in their package?
And that,
No, but the picture
yep.
right there. So you see the picture of the abandoned gas station that's in your package, just so you.
I'm sure that it's here.
So,
I mean, as you're traveling down the turnpike, as you,
Oh, okay.
as you leave the intersection of Worthington Ridge and Mill Street, and you travel onto the entrance ramp to Route 9, as you get to the Berlin Turnpike, you go south, and after you go by the Dunkin' Donuts, it's on the right-hand side. Years ago, a former owner had a tractor trailer there and had some signs up that everybody may recall, disparaging our then town manager, as well as the former mayor, et cetera. I'm just trying to get everybody to lock into the property that we're talking about. I think everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yes.
So at this point, some housekeeping. I provided the notices. It's on the west side of the highway. I provided the mailings, pictures of the signs that were up there to satisfy the notice requirements. With that housekeeping done, I just want to reference, and I believe everybody has a memorandum that I prepared and sent to the town planner. I believe that should be in your package, and I want to start by referencing that at this point. I wasn't intending on reading it. I'll read it briefly because I was hoping to bring it up on the screen so that anybody who's still here that's online would be made aware of it as well. But in speaking with Maureen and a phone conversation, she mentioned that the Economic Development Commission had raised the issue of possible spot zoning. So I wanted to address that in a legal memorandum. And I'll start by during our recent and speak in this memorandum to the town planner. I stated during our recent phone conversation in regard to the above referenced zone change application, you indicated that the town's Economic Development Commission, the EDC, had sent correspondence to your office raising a concern about spot zoning. Specifically, the EDC provided comments which were included in the Planning and Zoning Department's February 27, 2023 staff comments. The EDC also attached the minutes of its January 9th, 2023 meeting, during which my client's proposal to rezone lot 27, 27A, and 27B of block 106 from BT2 to BT1 and to delete the BT2 overlay zone was discussed. The purpose of this letter is to address the concerns raised by the EDC, specifically the issue of spot zoning. Before continuing, well, I'll just read it. Spot zoning occurs when there is a change of zone for a small area and the change is out of harmony with the comprehensive plan for the good of the community as a whole. And I cite a case, Guerrero versus Galasso. To avoid spot zoning, a change of zone must permit a use of property in an appropriate manner, having regard to its type, location, and nature of the use being made, or which could be made of the surrounding property. I cite another case, the LaCava case. An essential ingredient of the proof necessary to establish spot zoning is a showing that an inappropriate use of the land is involved in the creation of the zone. Simply because a particular action benefits a single property does not prevent it from being in conformity with the comprehensive plan. And I cite another case. And I specifically cite the Campion versus Board of Aldermen of the City of New Haven case, a 2006 Supreme Court case, where the court upheld the rezoning of six contiguous parcels in an RS2 single-family residence zone to a planned development zone. The six parcels totaled 4.04 acres. The application was seeking to expand a non-conforming catering business. The court, in upholding the rezoning, stated that it had previously determined in Kutcher versus Town Planning and Zoning Commission that a parcel of land as small as 2.5 acres was not a small area for spot zoning purposes. The court, after finding that the 4-acre parcel was not too small to be a standalone zone, also found that the Board of Aldermen concluded the rezoning was in conformance with the city's comprehensive plan and would benefit the community as a whole. The application before the commission tonight consists of 3 properties totaling 6.25 acres. 2 parcels are undeveloped land and 1 parcel has an abandoned gas station. The property is located on the west side of the Berlin Turnpike with adjacent property to its north and south located in the BT2 zone. There are a number of properties along the Berlin Turnpike from the Newington Town Line to the Meriden Town Line, intermittently zoned BT1 and BT2. We'll talk about that later. It is respectfully submitted that the rezoning the property to BT1 would not be spot zoning in that the property is 6.25 acres and therefore not too small for spot zoning purposes. And the rezoning would be in harmony with Berlin's comprehensive plan and in the best interest of the town. Attached to this memorandum, copies of the Berlin zoning map, which we'll discuss, regulations, and property cards. I've also attached is an excerpted copy of the treatise Planning and Zoning in Connecticut, 4th edition by Thomas D. Byrne, specifically chapter 12, spot zoning. This memorandum and the attachments will be part of the applicant's public hearing presentation. At this time, I would like to talk about the regulations. And the reason, and the regulations are at the back of the second to last attachment. And we start with the BT1 zone and the uses that are permitted in the BT1 zone. And then there's the BT2 zone after that. And then the SBDD2 zone. There are approximately 15 additional uses which are permitted in the BT1 zone, including manufacturer showrooms of product distribution centers, caterers or bakeries, indoor or outdoor commercial recreation facilities, similar to like a virtual golf, motor vehicle repair garages or gasoline filling stations, automobile dealerships, private transportation or automobile rental services, medical or dental laboratories, animal hospitals, nurseries or garden stores, building material suppliers, provided that everything's stored and displayed within an enclosed building, storage facilities or warehouses, manufacturing facilities, wholesale and distribution facilities, printing and publishing services, to just name a few of them. Makes the property much more marketable and developable. The SPDD2 zone being deleted has no effect. In fact, I don't think anybody, in fact, I know nobody will ever use the SPDD2 zone because it's an overlay zone on the BT2 zone. And all it does is add development criteria to be able to use it. If you look, it offers the exact same uses as a BT2 zone. Under the SPDD2 zone, it's under site plan uses. What it gives you is under E, this would be under 6E2A, all uses permitted subject to site plan approval in the underlying zoning district. And under special permit uses, all uses permitted subject to site plan, which are allowed in the underlying zoning district. So the SPDD2 zone gives you no additional uses, but it gives you additional criteria for approval. One being that surface parking areas under E5D, surface parking areas shall be screened from view from public rights of way and shall not visually dominate the site. So if you look at the last page of the handout of the memorandum, it's the Cary Rio LLC, the Dunkin' Donuts Plaza, which was previously developed. They had the opportunity to develop that under the SPDD2 zone, but they did not. And the reason they did not is because they wouldn't have been able to have the parking lot. And you see the picture of that zone on the property card. That parking lot would not have been permitted under the SPDD2 zone because surface parking areas shall be screened from view from public rights of way and shall not visually dominate the site. You can clearly see that parking lot as you're driving down the Berlin Turnpike. Nobody is ever going to use the SPDD2 zone, overlay zone, because there's no incentive to use it. It just gives you additional development criteria to satisfy without getting any additional uses for the property. Usually, if you're going to use an overlay zone, there's an incentive. There is no incentive to use this zone. So by deleting this zone, it's not doing anything, offsetting anything for the property. And like I said, it gives you, using the BT1 zone gives you additional development property or additional development opportunities to get you to develop this property that is been laying vacant for more than 30 years. So, as I stated, it's not spot zoning. The case law is clear on that. I'll address a little bit now if I can find it. The decision or the comments of the Economic Development Commission. They stated that they do not want this. Well, it was two-part. In the February staff comments, they specifically stated that they think this is appropriate to rezone this property, but only if all of the properties along this BT2 area is rezoned into a BT1. And when I say all the areas, if you look at the three, I put three prints together. And I was hoping to bring those up on the map. If you look at the middle print, the area we're talking about would be right across from the Golden Triangle. So if I can, I was gonna use
Is this one you mean?
no, this one here. The SPDD2 zone right here. Those are the properties that the Economic Development Commission is referring to. Our three lots, my client's three lots lie right in the middle of those. In fact, they would be right where the SP is. On the SPDD, the SP would be the two larger lots and then that smaller lot right in front of where the S comes in. But the Economic Development Commission says that it's appropriate, that they believe it's in harmony with the comprehensive rezone. This whole area is in harmony with a comprehensive plan, but they don't want you to do it because they want to do all of them. Don't just do my clients, do all of them. And they want us to withdraw the application and go and contact everybody that owns property in that in that BT2 area, which is unreasonable. And it's not our job. I'm here to represent my clients. If the Economic Development Commission thinks it's appropriate, the Economic Development Commission should approach this commission and ask this commission to rezone that whole area. But they've found in their comments that it is appropriate to develop this entire area. So if it's appropriate to develop this entire area in a BT, rezone it to a BT1, it's appropriate for my client's three properties to be rezoned in a BT1. The only issue being, is it spot zoning? And it clearly is not spot zoning. It's got 6 acres. The Supreme Court in the state of Connecticut says you can have as small as 2.5 acres and stand on its own. If we look at the treatise that I attached from Tom Byrne, you have to have two things. To be spot zoning, you have to find one, it's too small. And that's clearly not the case. It's more than 6 acres. And secondly, it can't be in harmony with the comprehensive plan. Not only do both of those tests fail, right? You have to get both of those tests to be spot zoning. We passed both of those tests. We're not too small, and we are in harmony with the comprehensive plan. And by in harmony with the comprehensive plan, if you look at the maps again, the 3 maps that I was referring to earlier, and we can start with the first one that has Meriden at the bottom. And that's the zone map. We start with Meriden. There's a BT1 zone sitting at the bottom, right next to a residential area near Silver Lake, sitting out there by itself. And then as you travel up, there's intermittently, there's a BT2 zone, then there's some BT1 zones. And as we continue up, there's another BT1 zone, right next, in fact, this would be like by the Pine Loft. Now we're in the middle page, right by the Pine Loft, across from Sage Park, right along Worthington Ridge. It would not only be the Pine Loft, but it used to be the Union Shop that was there and other things. And we keep going further north and all the way up to Newington, where there's a BT1 zone that sits right next to an R15 zone on the Newington border. And in fact, if you go to you're still on the final map, it'd be so much easier if we had technology. And I could be leading you with a pointer. So that way we may have to continue this to get the full flavor of this. But this BT2 zone along Deming Road, you see where Deming Road, this would be just south of Newington. There's a BT2 zone at the intersection of Deming Road and the Berlin Turnpike. But that's no longer a BT2 zone. We rezoned that a couple years ago to a BT1 zone. Very similar to what we're asking for tonight. So, I know there are people here to, that want to talk about this. But I think the Economic Development Commission is being entirely unrealistic and unreasonable. They've recognized that they believe this whole area should be rezoned DT1, but thinks that my client should incur the cost and expense and effort to round everybody up to try to get this to be supported. That's not my client's job. I think the Economic Development Commission established the fact that it's not spot zoning. But in any event, increasing the number of uses will make my client's property much more likely to be developed. We've reviewed the map. I've talked about, what EDC is asking for my clients. It's not too small. It's in harmony with the comprehensive plan as it's shown on that map of the Berlin Turnpike. I'll reserve any additional comments after I hear any questions or reservations that the commission or the public may have. All right, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. And because this is a public hearing, is there anyone from the public who wishes to address? Yes, sir, to the microphone, name and address for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I'm Richard Hudson. I live at 949 Worthington Ridge on the corner of Middletown Road and Worthington Ridge.
Hang on. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Hudson.
And our property goes down to meet Mike Perzanowski's property, which is the old property, the triangle that had the Potlatch restaurant on it. Okay. And it's the bottom half is about a half acre of my property is commercial. However, the numbers, zoning numbers are on a piece of paper. Okay. The question that we have and the problem that we have is it's all wetlands. Okay. Starting at the bottom of Middletown Road. Okay, the water comes underneath the turnpike from probably Sage Park, heads north. Okay. And there's a brook that's about 5 feet wide. It's about 1.5 feet deep that runs all year long. Okay. And it goes all the way along the bottom edge of my property, across Mike's property, and across the Haydeck property. And goes into a pond, all right, behind the Dunkin' Donuts. There's a pond there that you don't even see. And then it goes further on to the other pond that's down, as you see, as you come around the corner from Route 9 and onto the Berlin Turnpike. I don't know how many people have been down through there. I've been down through there this past month with Brian Hall, who is on the ridge behind the Dunkin' Donuts. And that pond is, there's deer down there. I have deer in my backyard that come up to my driveway. Okay. There's tracks in there. We took deer tracks or deer paths through that whole area. It's a wonderful walking path down through there. And it crosses right through the Haydeck property. It's all wetlands. And I tried to do something with that property a number of years ago. And there was no way I could do it because of all the wetlands. And that continues all the way through to those ponds. And so to put any type of business there, now we would welcome the disappearance of that mobile station. You know, absolutely. It's been there, we've been there 36 years, and that mobile station has looked like that for 36 years. So, you know, we would welcome something happening to that property. But to have it developed is just unrealistic. The property that Mr. Haydeck purchased goes all the way up almost to the houses, the two brown houses that are on Worthington Ridge. Their backyards are very shallow. There was nothing there but the house and the garages, and then it's Mr. Haydeck's property. So if he theoretically could build all the way up to those houses, okay, you know, you'd be able to see him from Worthington Ridge. You really have to take a look back there, and I welcome anybody to come to my house and take a walk, Mr. Haddock as well. Come through and take a look at what's back there. We have water running through that property. In the spring, comes down through my backyard and in little rivulets that go into that brook. And that brook runs 12 months a year. So there's water there, and there's wetlands, and those really shouldn't be disturbed. You know, there's deer, there's coyotes, there's bobcats all living in there along with other small animals. It'd be a shame to ruin that property. So that's basically what I have to say, and I thank you for your time.
Okay,
So
thank you.
anybody would like to come up, I'd be happy to give you a tour of that area. Yep. Thank you.
And what was the house number again?
949. Yeah, it's the brick house at the top of Middletown Road. And all our properties go down on a diagonal there. They don't go straight down. So we kind of slide over, and I go behind Stevens, Eric Stevens' house, and Eric Stevens is the yellow house, right? It's up in Hudson Street. So we all kind of go off on an angle there. Which doesn't, you wouldn't think so, but it does.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you very much.
Mr. Hudson, it shows on the map.
Oh, yeah, I.
Would like to.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I thought you just-
Maureen, you wanted to show us something or? you
Yeah,
were just-
so I did pull up because this is the way I've been handling, not seeing well today, is me showing you on the map. So this is blown up of the east side of the west side of the Berlin Turnpike in the area we're discussing, Middletown, this Berlin Turnpike. Middletown Road comes up here, the gentleman who was just speaking.
Oh.
The highlighted property. So you can kind of see how the lots on Worthington Ridge, some of them, I can't feel that I can zoom out while I'm standing here.
That's all right.
Upside down, but several of the lots on Worthington Ridge extend down towards the Berlin Turnpike.
Yes.
And creating some small lots on the Berlin Turnpike and others that are through lots to the Berlin Turnpike. So I just wanted to make sure everyone saw that. And knew, because everybody's been referring to the map. So if there is anything anybody wants me to bring up, I'll show you.
All right.
That's my ability, big screen.
Thank
So these, and just to re-highlight the parcels we're talking about. For the rezoning, it's that lot. That lot, and I have to X out of it with a little lot. Because you can see it, and this lot. So these three. Here, for anyone.
Okay. And
Wasn't
Tim,
sure.
No, I just want to address his comments a little bit, and you said in your statement, you tried to develop your property once upon a time. Couldn't do it because of wetlands. That's the same thing on this property. What they can develop on the property. The squiggly line down here is the wetlands. They only can develop towards the front because of the wetlands behind there. So that concern to me, and I'm not a wetland commission person, but you probably bring your concerns to the wetlands commission. Is that it's only buildable in the front towards the turnpike, same as where the 1200 house was, where you call it Potlatch. I call it 1200 house. I got burnt in it. But it's a wetland, so it's very small amount of developable property there.
okay, and anyone else at this time have any questions? All right, Chris, you wanna, is Chris up? Well,
Good evening, Chris Edge, 240 Kensington Road in Berlin. Couple things, little background to start with. The applicant had come to us to look for some assistance on what the best options were. We basically helped them lay out, here's option A, option B. They came back and said, look, we think that we'd like to do this. The commission looked at the entire area and realized that, yes, the BT2 zone is very challenging. It basically allows retail, office, and restaurant. You can look at the Dunkin' Donuts property, half empty. The zone does not work there. So we were in favor of looking at the entire area itself, which was what they were in favor of. On the part with the spot zoning, I defer to Attorney Sullivan. I was incorrect. I made a mistake. It is not spot zoning. So that was a mistake on my part. I and the commission are not against a zone change on this. I would say the biggest part was I was disappointed because I wanted to see more of this done. But realized talking to Attorney Sullivan that is more of the role of other property owners and or the commission, which we can work on. Economic development is purely advisory. On our Monday night meeting, just quickly, we don't have minutes yet, but for the meeting, after some discussion, the commission members questioned why only these properties were included, not others. Their earlier support was to change the entire area, not just the 3 properties. Commissioner Campanelli made a motion that Director Edge reach out to Attorney Sullivan as soon as possible, see if they would consider pulling their application to add more properties. Motion was seconded by Commissioner Bostrom and passed unanimously. And their thought was if other properties we included, the entire area can become nicer and developed, including potential new tenants for the property at 1100 Berlin Turnpike, which is now not possible under the BT2 zone. I did reach out to Attorney Sullivan. We did discuss it. It essentially was nothing but a would you consider, which I understand does not make sense for them. The BT2 zone, as you know, this commission recently did a text amendment further down the turnpike for a similar reason, which was it was not going to get developed under the current BT2 zone. I think the zone itself is very restrictive. And I think this area in BT1, especially again, making sure that there's a buffer between the properties and Worthington Ridge being our historic district is important. But I think looking at this as a start with a zone change would be terrific. I will probably approach, again, if the commission goes in favor of this, I will probably approach the property owner at Dunkin' Donuts about looking at the same thing. I myself could see an enterprise rent-a-car being a great fit in the front building that he had built as a bank. Currently, it's not allowed. That seems like a pretty decent use. So just to give you some background, Economic Development Commission nor myself are not against the zone change. We were just looking for a grander change, and it was probably asking more than was realistic of this applicant. So just want to give you that little bit of background.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And any other questions at this time? From the commission? Yes.
I have things to add.
I know it's getting late, everyone's.
It is. So I just want to really quickly do this. I think, Attorney Sullivan indicated they would not object should you. Well,
Yeah.
and you have 35 days to close the public hearing anyway, but I would like to give you the information I have available as well as point out that in your packet, there is a letter that was submitted with regard to this application from Lorraine Stubb and is asking to please accept this letter into the public hearing discussion tonight. So that was, it was sent back in March when we originally had the public hearing scheduled, but obviously continued to tonight. The secretary can choose to reference it or read it into the record, but that was the inquiry of her, and then I do have other things to distribute.
Yeah, I may have to read that. I know the hour is late.
My job.
Okay. So. Continue.
You want me to, can I give you a name? Just to give you real, so I can at least hand it out.
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
appreciate being able to do that.
Okay.
So I did write a staff report that I'll also give to Attorney Sullivan. And with regard to the, just kind of description, et cetera, typical staff report, I have attached to it. Most of you attended the land use law seminar on, that the Bar Association put on. They did specifically on page 44, address spot zoning. So I've copied page 44 and 45 for you so that you can look at the things for you to consider to make that determination. And I'm, you know, not.
Are you gonna have-
Alerting you to it being something that you should be thinking of, not saying I have an opinion that it is or isn't at this time.
Yeah,
With regard to whether or not it's got zoning, but I was confident it was going to come up as a subject. And, well, it did come up as a
As it did.
subject from EDC as well as my initial conference with the applicant when they came in. So I
so you
wanted to
have
make
that
sure
to
you
review?
had that information
Yeah.
with the information that you already have.
Want to just
So,
pass the whole.
Yeah, I'm gonna give,
have not seen a staff.
no, the hot off the press
We can pass it
before
down.
this meeting. So I'm gonna, I think I still have one to take. So, again, not forming an opinion on that, just
No.
laying out the things, and especially with the new members of the commission, laying out the things to think about when looking at a rezoning. The commission does not do a rezoning a lot of the time. So what's your charge? Look at the plan of conservation and development, look at the purposes of the zone, and think about whether it works for rezoning in any particular area. So that's really what the crux of my report is about.
Excellent. All right, thank you very much. So do we have I think we're getting.
I'll make a motion to continue this public hearing.
Please, okay, shall we continue?
Want to say something?
Continue.
Well, if it's continued, I can hold it.
Pardon?
If you're continuing, I can hold my comments. I was gonna respond to Mr. Hudson, but we can hold to the next meeting. I don't know if Mr. Hudson's gonna be here or not at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, and
okay,
I would ask only that you continue it to May 18th. We still have 38, we'll still be within the 35 days.
all right.
I'm not
so-
gonna be here May.
Oh, okay,
2nd.
so the 18th.
Going anywhere good.
No,
Portugal.
he won't be.
Sounds nice.
No,
Haven't done that ever.
oh my God. Okay, so I have a motion. All right, so Diane has a motion. Excuse me. Hey. Diane's gonna be making a motion, please.
Oh, I thought I did. Okay.
Well,
I'll make a motion to continue to May 18th.
okay, do we have a second? Second by Scott Hamel. Further discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. Okay. let's
Thanks for your
see.
time.
Okay, and then going back down, we have to drop down to old business, so that's gonna be continued. And old business, any plan or comments?
I do, and they'll be really quick. I wrote them down so I could plug through them really fast.
Okay.
although It's not as fast as we'd like, because there's a lot to say. But the plan of conservation and development, little bit of an update and a reminder that there's a committee meeting next Thursday, 4/27. I can't remember what time we spoke, right? Thinking it was 5:30. Pull up the town calendar and see if we can find it. Right there. The plan of conservation and development committee meeting. I believe you all got a print copy of the plan at your desk or in your packets. I don't remember which way we did them. That's the print copy that was provided to the Capital Regional Council of Government, that draft, and to town council for the public hearing. Town council had on it Tuesday night. It was a packed house. Me being the only person in the gallery. There were, others online, but I don't believe any.
I was online. It was a great
Yeah,
presentation.
it was, there are just a couple of observers online, no comment from online, but wanted to make sure you all were aware of that public hearing was held so that we could get.
Excuse me, we're still trying to finish the meeting here.
So 65 days before the planning and zoning commission has to hold a public hearing. On adopting the plan, it has to go out to CROG. It's a draft, and to the town council, it's a draft. They held an elected public hearing. So that the or more community input and ability, because your public hearing is most likely to be in June. Technically thinking June 15th for that. So being in June, more public input on getting this on time before summer starts, the better. But comments and edits will continue and can continue on the plan of conservation and development up to and through the public hearing that the Planning and Zoning Commission has. We'll have another draft or a red line draft. That will be the one that is published again and posted on the website a minimum of 35 days before your the commission's public hearing. So just so you see why you're getting several iterations of the same document. We may just update the pages, depending on how many edits there are. Let's see. Hold on. Nope, that's it.
Can I add something?
And Dylan has something.
So on April 26th, there's another continuing education opportunity. The CCAPA is holding a virtual meeting April 26th, 2023 from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's affordable housing, what's next? Multiple speakers will be there presenting it, and it's worth an hour of the education credits if you still require hours for training.
You're all year to get those hours, right?
Yes.
There's probably gonna be some more events that have steak at them.
The first one was 8 hours. That was a mess.
So, yeah, those of you that attended the 8-hour, I believe, said that I believe had the hour for the
Yes.
affordable. And that's really the trigger extra that you need. And then if you went to the dinner, you got the hour of affordable as well. So many of you or most of you do have that
is that-
requirement, but there's still some that don't. And the opportunity for more, just
So
because you want to
Are
absorb
you
it.
tracking that, or do you need something from us to track that?
We're doing our best to try to track it. I advise everyone to keep their own list as well in case you're asked. Well, there's two things so far. It's simple. I do have a chart for those two items. If you attend something else, you probably should send me an email so that it's in writing. We'll put it so that we can add it to a chart, the chart as another column of opportunity.
So what was that all-day class we did? on
The
that
land
chat?
use law, land use law seminar,
Yeah.
conference. I would call that a conference.
Now you can take each section and
You
when
did that yourself.
it came on the computer saying you can take each section of the video.
Yeah.
That section, I don't want to see it again.
It is.
Yeah.
And you-
Oh, now we got a big book copy
You
too.
do like one. As with any survey, they only expect the responses they get.
Is it at 5:30, this P O C D meeting?
Oh, you're looking at
Yeah,
that.
5:30 is what
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't know. That early.
And I'm not gonna
5:30.
be there. I will not be there.
Don't be mad at me, but I can't be there either.
See,
And that's gonna be hard for me to get to.
Okay, P O C D.
Well, because you moved back an hour.
It's still not gonna help me.
Feeling,
what you do?
Ryan Rogan, what time would you be able to get there in order to get a quorum? I had to move it.
I could do 6:30.
I kind of have